Beautiful people, welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as that midday show. That in the lovely purple or violet?
I think it's purple.
Purple is your girl, Adair, and I'm Sharif. And we're going to wait for everyone to come on in from the other stream. Big Kyle Burdett already gracing us with his presence there, having sent me quite a few ideas today. We'll get to those later. Shout out to Big Kyle, doing always extra with the charting. Big Darwin as well, Pillsbury. We got Mateus Lane, an easy trader. We got Manesh joining us today, and Trader Revolution as well. Damn, also made it into the chat today. Flip Dog Beats, Christopher D. We got Alex Enzo, Atif Tabet. We got Nail and Bob Dub, Cass M, Peter, Hey Davis, Monty G, and we got Ganja Fire. And then right after that, Kanye East as well. Two New York Sense and KML joining us today, Adara, as well as Adrian N and Benton C. The Gauntlet today joining us in the chat. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this fine morning? Also, congrats on your Apple trade, just taking a chunk out of that market over there.
Yeah, but I got to tell everybody the honest truth again. We are in the sim again today because we're having issues with the ID. So that is going to take some time to resolve. Brenkel's, the floor manager, says 1 to 2 days. So I know I've been saying that for a while, but it's kind of out of my hands at this point. We shall see when we will get access back. But took that 193-ish long on AAPL. You'll see it had a whole host of bottoming tail candles right near that 193 area. In fact, the low of the day is at 193.09, and I liked this look here, showing me that buyers were stepping in at this level. I love these bottoming tail candles that keep bouncing off a specific level, and then you have the confirmation, which is the 5-minute candle to make a new high on the close, and that's when I got involved there on that breakup, 193.25. Looking for something in 195 area. Let's call the spade a spade. And the fact of the matter is, it's been 2 days in a row where Apple has rejected off 195. But prior to that, as you can see, it's seeing higher highs and higher lows. So it looks as if, we're accumulating for that 195 break. But if you're getting really, greedy, for the lack of a better term, you should know that WWDC starts on Monday, and oftentimes there is a sell the news aspect to that. So I am anticipating a bit of a drop on Apple, maybe post WWDC, excuse me. We'll have to see what we get there, Adara. So that's my look, and I haven't traded anything else, so we'll get to some small cap gappers in a minute.
Yeah, I want to talk about Tesla. I don't know what happened here, but our friend Tesla just legitimately went from 175.85, all calm, all chill, all selling off the 176, pops up to a cool 176.40 before I can set anything, before I can get out anything.
Oh no.
Thank goodness I had a very small position. Obviously we're down in the name. You could not be with a move like that. But I still stand by it. I still did like the move. Also, in case you're like, hey, why do you have two triangles? I initially tried to go short, 175.70. That was a much more normal run-of-the-mill, didn't work out type trade. We broke above 176, I got out, but we still kept failing 176, which is why I got back in. And then Tesla decided to be like, hey. And then immediately sold off just as quickly. I'm staying away from this name for the time being. I'm not sure if there's anything going on here. I'm gonna have to keep my eye out. Like I said, I've been having some issues with my blotter as of late, but I'm gonna keep an eye out on things because Tesla, this one is definitely stressla. It is not moving the bestla. And I feel like the amount of quick scalping you have to do for this is just next level. But anyways, I just wanted to address that quickly before we get on to the lesson of the day in case anyone is confused by what this guy's doing.
I love it. That was a lot of laws there, and la.
Always.
Right? All right, guys, we are talking about the short squeeze all weekend. I guess it was a good timing for that because GME and AMC, well, you saw what they did yesterday. So let's get right to the lesson. We're not going to talk about technical trades today, but we're going to talk about some things to put you in a more advantageous position. We're talking about borrow fees, specifically shorting borrow fees, and how they influence supply and demand, or how they can be reflective of supply and demand for the shorts. So let's get right to it. So short borrow fees are a secret weapon for traders interested in heavily shorted stocks. This lesson equips you to understand and leverage these fees to potentially make informed decisions in your trades. But as we always do, we're just going to explain quickly what shorting is for all the newer traders who haven't really been with us here in the past. So before diving into fees, let's recap short selling. In short selling, a trader borrows shares from a broker, typically, sells them hoping the price will drop, and then later repurchases them at a lower price to return to the broker. The profit here comes from the difference between the selling and the repurchase price. Here it is. You catch the peak, right? So, and then the scalp the reversion. So basically, you short up there so that you've sold them for that price. You come by and you buy them at a lower price. And the difference between what you sold them for and what you bought them back for, that's your take-home money. Simple, right? Now, let's talk about the actual fee factor. So borrowing shares to short isn't free. Someone's got to make money right here. So short sellers incur a fee. It's typically expressed as an annualized percentage rate. Really doesn't matter too much if you're intraday trading, but if you're going to swing trade this and hold the short for a prolonged period, you really need to factor in this annualized rate because it's a part of doing business. It's got to factor in your P&L. Okay? This fee is charged by the broker, and they charge it for locating the borrowed shares. You also, if you have fully paid shares, so say I have 100 shares of Apple, fully paid, not bought on margin, I can choose to loan those out and make some money. So my broker will give me a cut of what the person who's borrowing them for will pay them, and then they'll give me a percentage of that. So why should you monitor short borrow fees? How does this help you? So short borrow fees offer valuable insights for traders. First and foremost, they're a demand gauge, right? High borrow fees indicate strong demand. So when you have to pay a lot to borrow, it's indicating strong demand for shares to short a stock. This is suggesting to you that there is significant bearish momentum, potentially foreshadowing a short squeeze if the price starts rising, okay? So it's a demand gauge. Secondly, the cost of the squeeze is important. High fees make it expensive for short sellers to maintain their positions. Again, not really applicable for an intraday perspective, but really for a long-term or a swing because you need to factor it in. If the price goes up, they might be forced to buy back the shares at a loss, further fueling the squeeze. And there's also the potential squeeze easing, right? A sudden drop, not a rise, in the borrow fees might indicate increased share availability. This could be signaling a weakening squeeze as short sellers find it easier to cover their positions. So it's a demand gauge here, and if you're involved in the very emotional aspect of trading these meme stocks, you want all the advantages you can get. So finding the fees. How are you going to figure out what the broker is charging so you can figure out what the demand is? So short borrow fee data isn't as readily available as some other data on most stock quote websites. Here are some resources though. The first and the foremost, your financial data providers. You got your S3 partners, your IH Market. They all offer real-time and historical short borrowing fee data for a subscription. So you got to ante up for that. But you also have your fintech platforms. So some trading platforms like the Robinhoods and whatever with advanced features might display borrow fee data for stocks on their watch list. And then lastly, your brokerage firms. I know IBKR kind of gives me a little bit of a view into what the short fee is, but I can't even borrow shorts from IBKR unless I ante up $10,000 per trade. So for me, it's not as readily available. But some brokers, particularly those catering to active traders, might provide borrow fee information to their clients. I know on this floor at Real Trading, we have the borrow fees very succinctly outlined. So when I look over to the big kahunas and I say, hey, guys, can you get me 100 shares of MLGO? Not like I'm going to do that. For short, Neil will look over, Sean will look over and be like, hey, it's going to be $1 for 100. It's going to be $2 for 100. And so that is always changing. It's based on the auction, the demand for these shorts, okay? But a word of, using the data. So don't view borrow fees in isolation though, right? Here's how to integrate them into your trading strategy. Combine them. First, you can combine them with the short interest. So high borrow fees along with a high short interest paint a stronger picture, in my humble opinion, of a potential squeeze. You can also track the fee changes, monitoring sudden spikes or drops in the borrow fees over time to identify potential turning points in a short squeeze. So initially when HKD, who remembers HKD from 2022? When this thing went up to 2,000 some odd dollars, I think it was like $500 for 100 shares to borrow here. So what does that give you? That gives you the idea that everybody and their mother's cousin was looking to short this. That could be potentially fueling the squeeze as more people jump into the short and they keep getting squeezed out having to buy. So keep that in mind. And then consider other factors. Don't rely solely on fees. Analyze the stock's fundamentals, look at the news catalyst, look at the overall market sentiment, and to make a more informed decisions. But always, a word of caution when we talk about these heavily shorted, low float names. Borrow fees are dynamic. The fees can fluctuate rapidly based on supply and demand, so make sure you're apprising yourself of the latest. And they're not a guarantee by any means. High borrow fees don't guarantee a short squeeze. Other factors can influence the stock price, obviously, including market catalysts, and really focus on risk management, guys. Short squeezes can be quite volatile. Always have a stop loss in order, in order to limit potential losses, whether that's a hard stop or a mental stop. Just make sure you're practicing sound risk management skills. And a bonus tip here, some online communities share borrow fee data and analysis. However, be cautious to verify before making any trading decisions. I'm talking about the Reddits and the subreddits. If any data is shared there, make sure you are, cross-referencing that data to make sure it's holding up to snuff. Adira.
Yeah, make sure you have your game stop loss ready to go in case there's any issues there. Yeah, you had to. But yeah, I think that's really interesting because I never really was aware of the way that you can actually use the short costs or the cost for locates to gauge the level of interest you still have in a stock. I think that's really interesting. So thank you, Sharif, for putting that I was going to say putting us through that, but that sounds very dark. I meant like taking us through that lesson and preparing the lesson. Sorry,
Fair.
More coffee time. But yeah, I'll talk about my Apple trade in a moment. GME, though, on the topic of short squeeze, this is curling, and I mean, hey, if you give up this 2760, I might fire off a message real quick for some shorts because this is the type of setup I love to take. I also have this line I must have drawn yesterday at 2670, and I still like this level, so
Katina, man.
I'm down for this. This GME this could be a vibe. What about Apple? Apple, no, I'll talk about it. What happened was with this Apple was I wanted to go the long. I was like, oh, I can just take it long into the top of the range. Initially, I had an order set to buy some of this back at 194.17s. We get to 194.16s, and Apple's like, yeah, I'd rather not. I'm like, okay. So I added to the position because I did still like this long. We broke below 90s. I got out. Now we're coming back. I don't know. This has not been my day so far. 2 L's on Tesla, 1 L on Apple. But I mean, not Apple, this is Tesla again. Tesla, I actually wrote this. It's not a sticky note, but it's my little Word document I call tickers to look at. And there's levels I like. And Tesla, that 177 rejection was actually one of those. Now we're seeing lower highs and higher lows. So if we bounce here off 174.80, I might take that into VWAP. The point is I'm looking at Tesla. I have lots of things I like, and we're going to take a moment to reassess, decompress, de-stress, and probably not get involved with Stressla.
Fair.
How's it going?
All right, I want to make a couple of observations here with respect to some of these large cappers first. I'm seeing some similarities between Goggles and Tesla today. They both had pseudo-looking double bottoms with the IB low coming a little bit deep, the IB low really being the low of day currently. And then you can see here around 1020, both of them got a little pump up. And then they kind of went sideways with Tesla coming down a little bit more. So there is some similarities here between Goggles and Tesla. I'm unsure of how to trade it or what to make of it at the moment, but an observation nonetheless. The other similarity here is they all had topping tail candles through the closing print. Goggles closed at 173.17. Tesla closed at 176.25-ish. All of them have candles that go through the top and then come right down to the bottom. So interesting look there. It looks as if that closing print from yesterday acting, thanks Katina, man, I appreciate that, acting as a level of resistance. So what the Katina man was just thanking him for right now is he sent me a kind of a screenshot to give you an idea of what we were talking about today. So here it is on the floor. This is how it would look on the floor. So if I went over to the Katina man right now, I said, Sean, you know, can you get me some GameStop shorts? Well, here it is. So look at this. So you have to black out the names. GME for 100 shares is going to be about 1.2 pennies per share for a total cost of 12 cents US dollars though for that 100. We're not really showing you this to kind of say to you, oh, look how expensive GME is, but this is the kind of thing that you can have your eye on to see what the demand is for the shorts. Thank you. And then notice the time over here. Look where it says offer expires in 1 minute 46 seconds. So I can only guarantee my cost of 12 pennies for 100 shares for that allotted time because, again, it is an auction system and it's constantly updating. So this is a way you can keep your eye on the demand. You just got to figure out a source for it. I have the Katina man. We have the Real Trading over here. I kind of gave you an idea. I had some sort of idea within my platform, my personal platform, about the demand for shorts, but that is restricted to my platform only. So it only gives me a window into people trading on my platform. So I just wanted to show you guys that, kind of digressing there, but I thought that that was important based upon the lesson. So the Mag 7, all in the holding pattern right now. None of them really breaking out or breaking down. So we'll leave them for now, and then we'll look to range trade them involved in the Apple trade already. Now, let's get to some small cap gappers, Ram, because we got to talk about these small cap gappers. MLGO, the king of the bunch today, 580%. This thing is going places, baby. But all I see here is that topping tail candle into 12.99, into that lucky number 13, and then down we go, we hold 10. Funny enough, that 10 period moving average also happened to be that $10 level. I love when that happens because it's showing you that double level of support. You got the $10 level, you got the 10 period exponential moving average on the 5. It respected the 10 period exponential earlier on. Look at that dip down right into that 750-ish area. All the closing prints north of the 10 period. And here we go again. We're doing the dance with no pants at 10, and we're holding up at the 10 period. So this could be an interesting curl back up to test 13. MLGO. Let me give you the deets on this in case the big kahunas didn't give it to you. $76 million market cap, 100 million, more than 103 million shares traded on the day, and we got 3.7 million share float, so definitely small. And let's check out Trade Ideas, the NOS boss and his crew over there for the short float. 2 2/3. Thank you for that. The Katina man sent me the pay for shorts look over here, so I want to have a look, and alas, I've lost my chat window, so I'll send it to you, Adara.
Yes. So we're going to look at that. I am in another trade.
Oh, there it is.
I am in IWM. Let's hustle with Russell. You might be like, Adara, why? On a big old green candle. Let me tell you, because I do have a reason. I like this. Look at this area of support we had at 202.70. We're rejecting. If we keep rejecting 202.70, I will stay in, and I may add a couple shares here. A planned add, and then if we break above, then I will be getting out of this IWM. Let's take a quick look at we'll take a look at a bit of IBIT for Manuel Palma quickly before we pass it off back to Sharif. But IBIT here testing highs with BTC, says Manuel Palma. Oh, it's a spicy look. Yeah, IBIT's getting a bit spicy over here. That is for sure. We did break that high right now we're just breaking new highs of days. I don't have much of a read on this. Man, that break above 40s is gorgeous. Shout out to anybody in this long off of that, any area, but that 39.57 was pretty sweet. So shout out to you. And hopefully we'll be able to shout out the lovely IWM, but it does not look like it. How are you doing over here?
We're good. And you know that I want to point out, though, guys, that when I talk about MLGO, this is a small cap gapper that's around for a good time, typically not a long time. That's not a hard and fast rule. Some of these small cap gappers will go places, but the majority of them won't. So when I'm talking about trading this, I'm talking about being very careful, trading it intraday. This is not something that I hold overnight. Thank you, Jay, for pointing that out. I know these names are awfully dangerous, but when I talk about trading them, I'm assuming that most people have sound risk management principles with respect to these, but sometimes I forget You know, not everybody trades these. Anyway, I'm looking for something now that the 10 period here has broken decidedly. Now I'm looking at that 859 because it's going to be price action support here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put an order on MLGO at, we're going to go ahead and sit at 875. It's kind of in the middle between that 850 and 9. Come what may, we're going to go and we're going to have a look there. But before that, Ram, we have that ad read that we have to do. And here it is, baby. Oh, 1 second. All right, we are brought to you by American Airs, trading in the USA under the symbol AAIRF, and in Canada under the symbol Wi-Fi, WIFI. This company just announced a knockout punch, a global marketing partnership with the UFC. Airs Tech is dedicated to bridging the gap between technology and wellness. Airs Tech's mission is to provide cutting-edge solutions that protect against electromagnetic radiation without disrupting everyday use of technology. This innovative company has seen consistent revenue growth and boasts several high-profile customers like Russell Brand and top UFC athletes. Invest in American Airs today on the OTC as AAIRF and on the Canadian Stock Exchange as WIFI. Shout out to American Airs. All right, let's get to the trade that we just put an order out for there. So it looks like MLGO still at 9 or above 9. And I may not get filled here, quite frankly, because we've been talking about the 20 period being that good retracement zone for the trending stocks, the deeper retracements we've been noticing on the mega caps come into the 20. And this one, you know, if it wants to pretend it's a mega cap for a day, maybe it stops at the 20. I'm sitting at 875. We'll see if we get filled there, but looking for price action support based on this initial crest and then troughing out there, looking for that to hold it there.
Yeah, I mean, you know what else we're looking to hold is someone might be trying to get into GME. And I am that someone. And I say this with like all of the trepidation that I think any trade of the GME sometimes warrants. But basically, I watched this for like a good old while. Here,
why are you doing this to Sean?
Shout out to Sean. This is my chart, though. That was my chart. So you can still see where my little order is. But look, I watched this a couple of times. I initially was like, oh, we can get it 27.40s and then get out if we get to 27.20s. I said, Dara, you want more confidence than that. You want more confidence than that as well. Shout out to the man who was just on the screen. And also shout out to AMC, because apparently I'm joining the apes over here. We're roaring kitty. So let's see how this goes. Zion Law, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. You guys nailed it on the shorting explanation. I'm going to give Sharif all the credit for that.
Team effort, Adara.
Appreciate that. Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work. Shout out to Trenda as well, our little silent team member. We don't talk about that much. But yeah, so GME, you might be like, Adara, what are you doing? I'm playing the range. Like, if it's going to range, I'm going to be cognizant of the risk and take the range. Also, someone was saying they were a little confused about my IWM trade. So I want to talk about it because I actually had the right idea on this. I just played it really badly. Look at how upsetting this is. So I got short because I love this rejection here. I said, Derek, get short into the rejection at 202.60. If we break above 202.70, get out. We broke above 202.70 with a bit of viciousness, so I did get out. Looks like I actually had not a bad idea on this IWM because we did reject off this level. Oh yeah. I had to get out because that was where my risk parameters were. I could have given myself 10 more pennies and we would have been fine. But hey, if we want to curl, as I don't know why I shouted there, I apologize. If we want to curl back up here in the IWM, I will take that long. But yeah, I did want to clarify that because I know I saw some confusion with regards to the IWM trade. I do stand by this trade, I want to say. The only thing I don't stand by is how tight my risk management was on that, and maybe my entry point as well. So there we go. That's actually the same case. This has been kind of a theme of mine today, is just getting things at really questionable entry points. So the trade idea is actually fine, but I execute it badly. Apple is another example. Apple.
Yes?
Apple actually bounced off VWAP, but we got below that 193.90, so I had to get out. Now it goes back up, right? So I think the thing is, like, Adara, clearly your ideas are not completely off. How are you executing them to make it better? So that's my take off that. Oh, Louis Tortora said, please give us a good effort, rawr sound effect, please, and thank you. Rawr. Rawr. I don't know. Yeah, what are you looking at?
Adara?
Yeah.
We have a couple of new animations today.
We do. Oh, I'm so excited about this one. So this is
it, guys. Yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, you go.
No.
Okay, so if you want to talk, if you want to have Sharif go on the green screen and talk about, have Sean and Neil talk about your ticker, you do this in the chat. Exclamation point, join, space, your ticker of choice. Make sure you have that $sign there. Want insight? Vote your pick in the chat, but it does cut off at 1:50 p.m. So if you want to get involved in our new segment, 1:50 p.m. is your cutoff. Exclamation point, join, space, ticker.
Yeah, have your say every day, guys. Ram just passed the following chocolate. Is this like a foreign? Oh my God, it's foreign chocolate. Is it from Saudi? Yes. Okay, so we got foreign chocolate secured here, Adara.
Oh.
Galaxy, a piece for me, a piece for you. So we'll save that. Ram hates chocolate, but apparently only Saudi chocolate is good for her digestive system there. So yeah, she didn't say any of that, but I kind of freestyled.
You did freestyle. She said like about like 2/3 of what Sharif just said, if not less.
Yeah, you know. Yeah. I can get creative.
Liberties, yeah.
Whatever. She doesn't want to come on camera. I can talk on her behalf.
That's
Love you, Ram. All right, here we go. OLMA, another very strong small cap gapper. This one's only up 17% and change. It is not really small cap gapperish, about $750 million market cap. The volume on the day is a little suspect. It's about 250,000 shares, which isn't all that much for a $17 name. The float on this one, 53.8 million shares. And let's find out if this one has a significant short float, OLMA. Yes, it does, and that's probably why it's running. Over 17.5% of the float is shorted, so look out for this one to get a little parabolic if the shorts start getting squeezed here. OLMA, beautiful look here. Now, the most recent retracements have come into the 10. You can see that there. But earlier on, the retracement got a little bit deeper and it came into the 20. So I'd be waiting for one of these retracements on a moving average, quite strong. VWAP's a little bit above 310, around 315-ish or so. Is there a headline on this thing? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, there it is. Olma Pharmaceuticals up over 23% on pace for record percent increase, okay? Is there a reason, though, fundamental reason? Maintained $30 price target by H.C. Wainwright, and there could be some stuff from yesterday. So there's decent catalyst at high days right now, $13.88, looking on its way to 14. Let's go to the daily chart to see where we could encounter technical resistance. And it looks as if, this was another, kind of pandemic name that ran up. It's inflated amounts. It looks like it got into the 50s there. But since that time, we've definitely been having resistance with this $17 area. Not saying it's going to push to 17 today, but that's what it did in October. That's what it did in January and February. Was not able to break 17 on a closing basis, knocking on the door 14 today. So let's see if it's able to make its way up there, or in the coming days, we can take a short off that level. OLMA. Good look, Adair.
Good look indeed. Yeah, there's a lot of small cap gappers, small cap gapping. Can always tell it's going to be a good small cap gappers day if I have like so many options when I'm trying to put together the small cap recap. Also, so GME, I want to say I'm extremely proud of the execution on this, even though it was a losing trade. I'd be like, but let me talk about it. So unlike with this IWM mess that I did not, I'm a little bitter about that, I'm not going to lie. We would have been 30 pennies in the money had I just had a better stop. But you know what, c'est la vie. This GME though, my thing with this is, my brain turned off for a second. My thing with this GME is we got below my area, so we're kind of skirting towards 27, so I got out. I'm happy with what I did here. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lose any sleep over this trade, so I can live with that. And then the thing is, too, is it's just about execution. I am down on everything right now, as I've said. The ideas have not necessarily been in the wrong area. I've just been executing them poorly. This GME, though, I'm happy with the execution, so hopefully that's a sign in the right direction, a step in the right direction. Words. We'll figure this out. We got this. Yeah, I don't know. This Tesla, though, I think there could be something here. Like I said, I want to talk about this Tesla again because this was a case of, I don't know if anyone's watching Tesla around 11:05, but this thing popped up like 40 pennies and dropped just as quickly. I did unfortunately get swept up in that. So that's what we're dealing with. But you know what you got to do is brush that dirt off your shoulders. Shout out to Jay-Z. On to the next one. Also shout out to Jay-Z. And where's the next trade? As Obi says, I have no reads on anything right now. I've said this before, I feel like my reads and stuff are not as good when I am a little bit tired. So we are going to be fine. Oh, this IWM is giving me FOMO nation. But it's all good. We're going to find some other opportunities and not hold trades like IWM against ourselves. How are you doing?
Good. Again, I gotta echo your sentiment there with respect to these markets here. We made the point earlier that they looked awfully consolidative, and that's what happens when the chart is very sideways. And this includes the MAG 7 and the NQ, very, very sideways. Now, if I could find some sort of pattern here, I see higher lows on the ZON. So the dip into the IB low, 176.5, we held up. Then we came back down again at around 10.15. Look where the low is there. The closing print holds up at 177. And then we make another dip. This time we hold the WAP at 177.75. And we've been dancing with the closing print, much like most of the other MAG 7 names, at 178.33, 178.5. We have a couple of topping tail candles through the closing print of yesterday, and then down we go again. And that's been rinse and repeat since the morning today. The only difference, I would say, in my humble estimation here, from Amazon with respect to all the other MAG 7 names is this higher low pattern that it's putting in, at least on the 5 here. So I'm not saying this is going to be an ascending wedge breakout top through 178.5, but it's something off which we can play. So another dip, possibly back into VWAP, possibly into that lower trend line there. Take a dip trade off it. It's coming right back in right now to the highs there at 178.33. It's breaking through the $0.25. AMZN, really the only one that I can see that has a really good discernible trend in the MAG 7 world. The other ones have been bouncing off levels, which is not bad in and of itself. We can do Adara Panera trades on these ones for sure, like Apple. It's been, the first thing I said to Adara when she sat down, I'm like, there's a seller at 195.25 on the dead one. And I will not be convinced otherwise. Look how long we've been dancing below that 195 and 194, excuse me, and a quarter on AAPL. I mean, you have breaks of it, sure, it goes into like 28 pennies or 29 pennies, but the real level is that $0.25 area. And that's where the opening print on that institutional level print was. Again, you know, a lot of people make, they have theories about these institutional prints that come in at 8 a.m., but this one also at the $0.25 level. AAPL having trouble with that, breaking through VWAP now. It's in that same range. It's in that same range, coming into the 50, selling off aggressively here, and then what you'll see is it curls back up and then does a dance with 194. So we'll see exactly what we have here. We just broke 18.6 on the future, but we broke an 18.6 a bunch of times today on the future. So I'm not looking for a breakout trade. This is very much a range-bound day, and you need to trade it like such. If you're dumb like me and do that kind of breakout trade in the past, on a range day, you will get shut down. Well, if you personally shut down at home, you shut yourself down. But yeah, that's what I'm going to say here. This is a very range-bound day until we get some sort of breakout or breakdown on these MAG 7 names. So that's how I'm going to be trading this. I'm going to wait for one of these levels to come in. I just got to choose a name here, whether it's Goggles or Apple, or sorry, not Apple, Tesla here at the closing print. Softy as well off the closing print a few times. Meta, looking multiple rejections on Meta off VWAP. That's been arranged, so looking for that today, I guess. You know, it's not the most exciting trading day, but who cares? A range is a range.
A range is a range. I would like these ranges to rearrange themselves so they're kind of in an area that is more playable, but it's all good. Oh my gosh, I only got part filled out of my Apple. Excuse me, Apple. We only have like legitimately a 1/10 of the position still in, so that's fine. But oh my gosh, Apple, hello, hello, ma'am, sir. Hello, Apple. Yeah, okay, we're out of Apple. Yeah, this has been a rough day. No positive trade so far today. And you might be like, Adara, why are you smiling? Because you can't, like, you know, sit here and castigate yourself. You can't do all the self-flagellation. We're here. We're going to be positive. We're going to give you guys trades. And not give trades, but we're going to talk about our trades. And, you know, you can't get too down on yourself, right? Like, can't nobody break my stride. Can't nobody slow me down. I mean, to be fair, the trades can. But it's all good. It's all about moving forward. And as, you know, the song says, you got to keep on moving. So this Tesla, it looks like, was actually the range. As I was, you know, fuddy-duddying around in Apple, Tesla was like, hey, Adara, 176.40 to the downside. We have higher lows, though, so I'm going to be cognizant of that. If we bounce off VWAP, I'll probably try to go long here. But I'm not going to sit here and lie like I'm not slightly disappointed about this IWM trade. And it's funny because I know there in the chat there was some confusion over this trade. This was the best idea I have had to date. I don't mean that as a brag because I clearly executed it poorly. But like, we're breaking new lows of day on this. This was, I'm so disappointed. Look, talk about top wick. I got out of this top wick. Okay, Adara, stop. It's fine. But yes, I just want to talk about that because it's like, you could have ideas, but the ideas don't matter if you're not executing them appropriately. And that's the thing with the IWM. So it's like, Adara, in retrospect, what do you do to fix that? Well, if I know this is the area of rejection, why am I getting it at the area of rejection? Why wouldn't I give it like 10 more pennies? So that's a look on that. Am I disappointed? Oh, sure. But am I ready to find new trades? Heck, yes. Thank you, Kyle Burdett, for mentioning Disney for a range. Let's take a look at that. DIS. Okay, yeah, this is nice. I do like this 9 EMA rejection. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to keep a look at this. We're bouncing off VWAP. I want to take a look at this chart for a little bit longer because I want to get a better sense of the range. But let's take a look at this for sure. Also, yeah, it's almost a little disappointing too because I had a good day on Friday, I had a good day yesterday. So now today, the markets are like, hey, Adara, like, you know, you gotta get slapped in the face a little bit. So a little disappointing, but we're not here to be disappointed. We're here to make some trades and learn.
You want to press charges?
Yeah, I mean, I'm considering it.
Hey,
but the thing
you picked
is,
up on
I
my
need
sarcasm.
to make sure that I know what charges I want to press, right?
You don't get to decide that.
I know that's true.
Yeah, but
it's the prosecutor. I watched a
in
lot of
Canada,
Law
it's actually the police who charge. The prosecutor takes over the charge.
That's weird. Because I know it's very different.
I wouldn't have done that because I would have left it in the person who knows the law the deepest. Yeah, but that's just not the way they do it in Canada.
That's weird.
All right, guys, long meta playing the range on META here. Long at 474. We got 07s, 50 pennies in the money on this as it. Again, this is a range trade. I don't see a breakout trade on these Mag 7 names, at least yet. That could change. We know how the Mag 7 acts. So long on this name. Let's see what we get. We're in Apple already. We've been in Apple for a hot minute, but I'm going to stay in this Apple trade. Already a couple of beak wetters right now on META to de-risk. Guys, I am in the sim. This is not a live trade. I'm still locked out of my account because of my ID issues. Hopefully that gets resolved. Brenkel said 1 to 2 days, so we'll see. We'll get it when we get it. All right, put another beak wetter there as we're about almost 80 pennies in the money now. Looking to de-risk the majority of the position through 475. And the reason is that's where the WAP is hanging out, VWAP. And it's been rejecting off VWAP all morning. And I don't really have a reason to suspect that it's going to change that at this time, not until it breaks out. Then I can look at it as a breakout trade. Or if not even if a breakout trade, but sometimes, you know, the ranges flip. So what ended up being, what was initially resistance ends up being support because you broke out through resistance, but you still range. You've just created a new resistance top and you're using the old resistance as support. That often happens when the day is super rangy. So if that ends up happening and we start using VWAP as support, I'll trade it like that as well. So we'll see exactly what we get on META. Apple doing the dance with no pants with that whole dollar level at 194. That is the closing print. So we shall see whether Apple ends up above or below yesterday's close. But yeah, interesting stuff here on this Mag 7 name. Ostentatious Productions, I saw it, my man, and I responded to you about LPA. I did, and I said to you, it's a great move, but there's no volume. It's a $223 stock. And it's done 19,300 shares. This is the chart, Ram, and I can't trade this. I can't trade this in good conscience because hi Neil, if we were to you know, trade this, you were on camera. Yeah, he's like, what? Why are you talking to me? If we were to trade this, I would have trouble getting out. And here it is right now. Let me tell you quickly what the spread is on this. Let's load it up just to make the point here. LPA. It trades on the Amex. This is an Amex stock. Here it is. So the spread is a cool $10. Like just to get in and then to get out immediately would cost me $10 a share. And that's what happens when you have low volume. Great move though, LPA, or ostentatious, whatever. 78.3%. Great move for it, but not something that we can really do a whole lot with here. All right, so yeah, just still in this meta trade and in Apple. I also want to mention this, the ZON is coming in to that key level of resistance that we were talking about. So we earmarked Amazon as really the one with the only Mag 7 name today with a trend because it has these higher lows with a flat top. And we're getting into that flat top. That is 178 1/3. That is the closing print from yesterday. We've rejected on that once, twice, and OB thrice, and this time will be a fourth if we do. Look for a possible breakout trade on AMZN. It looks like it's stronger than the bunch, just my estimation.
Good. Amazon's a nice look, that is for sure. Also, I stopped winding up to IWM and got into IWM for the short. We are like 10 pennies in the money right now. All is good. Yet I do appreciate the support because I want to address this as well because I know there have been comments in the chat about how I feel like, I know I don't hold moves for very long and I have very small risk. The reason I do that is because I find when I don't do that, that's when things go very awry for me. So when I try to hold on to moves, I find I tend to paper hand. So I just wanted to address that because it is something I've thought about considerably, like, oh, maybe risk more, maybe hold on to moves more. You have to figure out what kind of trader you are from trial and error. And I find I make more errors when I trial to hold on to things longer. So I just wanted to say that because I think it is, I think it's a really valid point, and I understand where that comes from, but I also think you have to be true to yourself as a trader. And I think for myself, I found through that trial and error and through that process what works best for me. So I just wanted to address that because I do appreciate everyone in the chat making their comments, but I also think it's important to know who you are and how you trade the best. With that in mind, someone was pumping his fist, and I mean, I love those meta beak wetters. So shout out to you on that there. For sure. I
appreciate that. I'm laughing up a storm as to what people are saying about some of the words that I use in the chat. Guys, we try to keep it interesting here. We got a 3-hour show to cover. And you know, Adair and I have we have like this, you know, inclination for words. I make up words. She uses real words. It's all good, right? And so, yeah, that's kind of the dynamic we have up in this place. All right, I don't really have any trades, but Tisha Perkins keeps telling me that MLGO is curling. And more right she could not be. Sadly, though, Tisha, as you can see there, the aqua, the teal line, trust the teal, as the OG Max always says, the teal line's sitting at 875. And the reason I put it at 875 is because, well, I wanted to take this area support long on MLGO, excuse me. And then I also had the $9 area, which could be a whole dollar defend. So I said, look, you might not get that 850 print. It might be somewhere in between. So I put it at 875. It didn't even hit 9, Tisha. As you can see there, the bottom stopped off at that 910, 915-ish area, and then right up into 11 we went again on this one. Alas, though, I got to tell you, this one still has lower highs. So even though you got that nice curl, it was a bit of a scalp, if you could call a $2 move a scalp. The reason I say that is because the winds of change haven't come on this name. It's still a 13 top, then an 11.5 top, and now it's an 11 top. So lower high, lower high, lower high, with that $9 acting as that flat bottom. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have that order sitting around for much longer, Tisha. I got to tell you, because if we get that $9 break, it's going to be one hell of a bottom break, especially with how this one's moved up on the day. It's bound to give some back here. So MLGO, definitely a good look at the hold up at 9, but I was not involved in that. All right, the dead one is back above 194 again, and we've been sitting at 194 1/3 on the dead one. I'm talking about AAPL. I'm kidding when I call it the dead one. For that, Phil, I know earlier I mentioned this. I'm going to mention it again. There is a seller in that $0.25 to $0.33 general area. That has been my observation since I started watching this about 45 minutes ago. Apple, the flat top at the $0.25 to $0.33 a day.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much happening in these markets today, actually. This IWM, I did get out half the position. I am pleased as punch. If we stay in this 202 area, I will add and I will keep scalping out because I think that strategy kind of works for me. You know what, actually, I'm going to do that. So there we go. We're adding a little bit at 202. If we break decisively above that 2010, 202.10, Heading into 202.20s, that's when things are going to be a little bit more of a problem. But I have to have confidence in the trade, and man, do I have confidence in this IWM breakdown. Do not, again, like obviously the top and trend is not like the look of the year, but we are near those low of days. We did have this nice little wicking candle. I mean, look where we wicked into. That's right, that area where we formed a support here around that 202.10s, which is why I find that area so fascinating. And so I do owe it to myself to commit to this trade, to commit to the idea. So I saw Sharif punch his fist, so I'm going to give him a little clap. But, you know, as things are getting a little bit energetic and caffeinated in this market, Kyle Burdett brings up Starbucks. Big Kyle Burdett. I actually had some Starbucks this morning. It was a matcha kind of morning for me because I overslept a little bit. So this SBUX, this VWAP projection is, oh, this is great. Okay, you know what? Move over GME. Starbucks is taking your place on my side chart. Thank you, Kyle Burdett, for bringing this up. I do love trades that just have these kind of clear rejection levels that I mean. What's beautiful about this is we're getting to the 82.80. We go up to VWAP and Starbucks is like, no, I actually don't want that shot of espresso to the upside. Thank you very much. We do have higher low, so I'm being cognizant of that. But I think if we have another opportunity to get to that 82.80 and paw it away like a little bored cat, shout out to Roaring Kitty, I guess, I think that could be a nice look. So thank you, Kyle Burdett, for bringing that up. Mara says, stay high like Summit. I like that. M to the A to the R to the O. Okay. I need more side charts, man. Okay, AMD, because I was going to replace AMD with Mara, but I'll take a look at AMD, then I'll go back to Mara. AMD, okay. You know, I don't know if in good faith I can take away AMD for Mara, because this AMD rejection of that previous low of 160.80 is pretty sweet. But if you look at Mara, you have this gorgeous range with these higher lows. This looks like it could flat top break. I'm not the Mara expert around these parts. That is the man behind me.
BPI.
But I think this 20-40 area, if we break above, this could be a nice push. I think with that in mind, though, the trade that is more my style is going to be AMD. So AMD is the one that's going to stay on my side chart. And IWM breaking lows of days. I'm really proud of myself for getting back in this. And again, I want to shout out everyone in the chat for your support, for your kind words, and for just being here, because it's such a great community to be a part of. I am taking out a little bit of this position, a low of day, but I'm still keeping this in. To be clear, I have 3/5 of my position still in this. I want to have confidence in this because I have no reason to leave right now. So again, shout out to everyone. It's, I think, really too sometimes trying things that don't work for you make you realize what does. So happy to be here and happy to continue to refine my approach to trading.
All right, guys, I want to remind you that a new segment is upon us, and it puts the power in your hands. You vote for what we talk about during that 2 to 2:20 time slot. The big kahunas are going to be locked and loaded at their desk, and they're going to give you their view on the technicals, the trade, whether they took a position in it or not. So get into the chat right now, hit ! join space, and then the $sign followed by the ticker of your choice there. Have your say every day for what we talk about in 2 to 2:20. Go ahead, get that in the chat now. Neil and Sean will be locked and loaded at that 2 o'clock time slot to take those, I guess we can call them requests, but for the top 5. Essentially, it's going to be the top 5 as voted by you. All right, I did wet my beak on some profits at 474, low 90s on META. My stated goal on this was to essentially take everything off at the WAP at 475, volume weighted average price showing on Meta 475.13. It did a topping tail candle as expected into VWAP. It is resisting there. I won't be convinced otherwise. Bouncing off pivot point, rejecting off VWAP. We'll see how long that lasts. I've taken out 3/4 of the position on Meta, so I'm holding 1/4 left for a possible breakout or a stop out. It's going to be what comes first. So if we get that decided break through that 475, through VWAP on a closing basis, and kind of showing you the winds of change are coming, I'll hold on a piece. Or if we come into my entry at 474, that's it. That's going to be the end of the trade. So this quarter that I have left on META is going to be one of 2 eventualities. Now, the dead one, above 194 again, and it is coming into that 194.25, 194.33. I want to be watching the tape this time, and I want to be watching the book, because I'm pretty convinced there's an iceberg around that between the $0.25 to $0.33. That has been a tough break today for Apple. Really hasn't been above that level on a closing basis since the IB high. And we already know what the IB high is. It's riddled with all these market on open orders. So kind of, I don't want to say it skews the rest of the trading day, but it's an outsized volume time. So it should be viewed as such. So that's the look there on the large cappers. Again, AMZN, higher lows, having a whole lot of trouble with the 178 and a third, which is yesterday's closing print. So let's keep eyes on that. WIMI just made a move. WIMI, 43% in the clear, $120 million market cap, having done almost 46 million shares on the day. The float is not minuscule, 20 million share float, so smaller. Let's bring in trade ideas. Shout out to Nos Boss and his crew and find out what the short flows on WIMI. 2%, nothing really to write home about. So we're not going to talk about it as a short flow candidate. Having a whole bunch of issues at that $1.25. What's with the $0.25 today and being resistance? But all these topping tail candles coming through, 1.25. HOD is 128. We're at the $0.25 right now. There is a bit of a range on this one as well. Not one of the stocks we typically range trade a day are these small cap gappers, but there seems to be a range 110 to the bottom, 1.25 to the top. That is until it's not, but right now that's what I see on WIMI. It is a small cap gapper du jour. I'll tell you quickly what the headline is. WIMI hologram cloud shares are trading higher after the company announced that the company and Micro Algo will jointly establish a micro consciousness quantum research center.
Don't you love though, like when you get two small caps to the price of one, because that's what happens with the Catalyst, right? It's kind of fun.
I just want to know what micro consciousness is. I'm ready for anyone to explain that to me. Is it when you have a conscious but it's really small, so you're like a degenerate, right? Because you have like a small conscious.
That's pretty good. I don't know.
I don't know either. So yeah, that's the headline for that look there. All right, Meta breaking through now, so it's time to wet our beak on some more profits on META. We'll take out some there at 475 mid-teens. Good look for Meta. 474 support, 475 and change resistance.
Yeah, there's shout out there on that Meta. Also, IWM, I do have two beak orders in this right now, trying to get a third. Initially, I wanted 201.80s. We got to 201, I think like 87s, and then moved back up. So I want to be cognizant. I did add to the position at the time because we were still rejecting that $2 level, but now we are edging closer. Like I said, around 202.10, that's when my spidey sense will be tingling, and I'll be watching to see what kind of strength we have. If we keep rejecting this 202.10, though, I will stay in this position.
Oh, wow.
And I'm really proud of myself for adding to this continuously, because it's about having confidence, or confidence if you are Sean Katina, which I do not happen to be. But it's about believing in your trade and your style of trading as well, right? And so, you know, you could have your Billie Eilish "What Was I Made For" moment where you doubt yourself and you're like, you know, in a little rain cloud and in the fog. But what you have to do is find your way out of that. Find your epiphany and find what works for you, and stick to your personality style when trading. So
Are you a
what
fan?
I did. Pardon?
Are you a fan?
Of Billie Eilish. Mm-hmm. I don't mind. I can take her or leave her. There's some songs I really like of hers. I do think that "What Was I Made For" is a pretty good song, and I also think it's like, you know, pretty emblematic sometimes for trading. Like you're in your like feels, and you're like, but you can't be in your feels because trading is unemotional. And as Street's friend Alfred, who has made cameos on the show, has said, you need to trade like you're dead inside, and that helps. And that's what I'm trying to do on IWM. Oh, Ramin saying that her new album's good. I haven't listened to much of that, but I heard a couple songs that were pretty good. Okay,
so small cap gappers are all running, but I have to mention that crypto is running as well. Bitcoin is above 70,000 again, 70,050, and the crypto names are going nuts. Coinbase is up 5%, Mar is up 6%, Riot up 3%, Clean Spark up 3 1/3, Hut 5 1/3, Bitto 2%. So keep your eye on this. MicroStrategy is not that much, or it's so heavily levered. I figured that MSTR would be up big, but it's only up 2 3/4. But keep your eye on crypto. It's making moves right now. But as Neil put in the chat, MLGO halted to the high side, 1431. That has everything pumping. OLMA, high a day. HOLO, who remembers HOLO? High a day, just printed 182s. One hell of a looking pattern there. Higher highs and higher lows. great look off that move, but not really respecting any moving averages, so I'm less inclined to use them at all. I'd be more interested in price action support, and I think the chart supports my thesis there because we had topped out at 1 2/3, and then when we broke up into 1 3/4, look where we held up. We're at that top again. So I'm going to be inclined to get something off 1 3/4 now that we're breaking into the 80. So let's pull up HOLO on a trading screen over here. Let's get rid of LPA and load HOLO, and I'm going to put a dip trade on this at the $0.75. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to sit at 175, and we'll put that to defend this crest over here. Now, my frugality might get me in trouble again because sometimes we don't make it down right into that level, and if we do come into 175, we have to cross on the ask, or on the bid, excuse me, and that may not happen. So I should probably move it up at least a couple of cents here, maybe 76 or 77. We'll see. All right, Holo opened $15 now, HOD. Below $14 it goes though. Tanking, broke 13, about to break through 12. Wow, this thing's moving dollars at a time. I'm not touching this. Anyway, there you can see this thing's moving from 14 down to 13, back up to 14 again. MLGO up 760% as this thing wants to probably hit 1,000 today, Adara, if it keeps going the way it's going.
Yeah, IWM got to that 202.10, got null nestled up close. I was like, do we sell it? IWM said, nah, I'm going to go back to 202. It's all good. You're good for now, Adara. You can breathe for the time being. So thank you, IWM. I will. If IWM wants to break below 202, I mean, I'd love that even better. But right now, I'm trying to have a little bit more confidence in my trades, in my ideas, in my style, etc. Because I think if you think about it, you develop a style because it works for you for some reason, right? There's something about it that's compelling to you personally. Okay. And I feel like it's easy to question your style, but I don't think you should, because it's like, you know, like I said, I did have a good day the last couple of days, and that was because I was doing my scalping. So it's like, Adara, if that works, why are you questioning that now? So I'm going to try not to do that. And I just wanted to say that. Also, AMD, I am in a very small position. This is a really small position. Sometimes I take trades because I want to practice just the feeling of getting involved when you see something you like. And so with that in mind, AMD, the goal for this is not like, you know, money bag, stacks on stacks, whatever. The goal for this was, Adara, you like this short, you like this rejection at that previous low of day, so you owe it to yourself to take it. That was the full plan here, which is why this is a really small position, but I did want to address that. Also because I didn't want to like have a whole bunch of shares in that while I have my weird complex IWM situation I'm still monitoring, right? So I'm like, you can't have all these eggs that you're watching over, you gotta have the couple. But I was risking into 161s, got involved, 160.80s. I would love 160.40s. I would love 160.40s. I don't know if we'll get 160.40s, mind you. If we keep bouncing off 160.60s, I'll take it out there, but I would like to get a little bit lower. I don't know. Also, I want to shout out Kyle Burdett for saying, I ain't your holo back girl, which is a great reference there. And shout out to Holo, which Sharif, I know, is saying holo at the holo. So hopefully you're able to get more than that.
Can I point this out,
Please do.
Because I think I just literally said these words, and look what it did. It literally held at 176. My frugality gets me in trouble every day. I'm not friends with Alfred anymore. I gotta drop him as a friend. Kidding. No, seriously, that's exactly what happens. I put it out 175, it dips into 176. So just get in, Sharif. What do you care about 175 or 177? Just get in. All right, well, I hear you guys. I'm putting it at 177. So let's see if it prints there. We're gonna take off the order though, because we have 2 orders out, and that's no good. Oh my goodness. This window is gonna be the end of me over here. All right, Holo, take off 75. There we go. All right, so now we've got 75 off. Sorry about that, guys. And it looks like it's gonna go here. Not even 77 is getting printed, so. Yeah, that's the way it is. Anyway, HOLO, 19.33%. I don't think it actually has a headline. Let me just double check that because I could be wrong.
It's run with Wimmy before, so I think it might be like just a friend of that one. I don't know. Good call.
Yeah, so no headline on Holo, but Wimmy has a headline. There it is. We told you that they announced that microalgal thing, and that's kind of why that whole thing is running. So I guess in sympathy with Wimmy. Oh, look at this. Big Kyle $2 super chat. Submitting application to fill Alfred's position. You're a technical trader, Kyle. He's a fundamentals guy. He doesn't give a you-know-what about technicals. He thinks it's like hocus pocus, right? Yeah. You got to see the way. Pardon me, Ram Ram?
Oh, because you were.
Yeah,
oh,
I know. But like the whole point is to substitute one person for a like, right? One is a technical trader, one's a fundamental trader. I'm gonna hold on to both friends, to be honest with you. Shout out to Big Kyle. Give me some great ideas there for a swing short. Well noted, Big Kyle. All right, let's see what, I was asking Alessandro to tell us about his style, and thank you, Alessandro. He's like, I use a breakout-based strategy made by looking at multiple signals given by a mix of indicators. Bollinger's set at 2 standard deviations for 30 days, fair, that's standard. EMA 10 versus EMA 20, standard, that's what we use. Trading is not gambling. It's all about technicals, love it. Now, tell me, what do you use? Are you using the indicators? Are you using exponential moving averages for trend trades? Which one are you getting off? Because I have a system where when something is trending, especially large cappers, Ram, what I'd like to do is look for retracements, shallow retracements off the 10, and then deeper retracements off the 20. Let me see if I can find one here that kind of makes my point. So this short on Google yesterday kind of makes that point, except you don't really get a 20 retracement on here, but umpteen amount of retracements on the 10. I only really use these moving averages when something is trending. How about you? Do you use them in consolidative markets? Because I was kind of taught not to do that. So let me know how you do it. Love to hear how everybody else uses technicals and what their look is. All right, just let me rewind some of the trades that I had here. Still in Apple looking for that 194 and a third touch, but that is not incoming. Still in Meta for that 475 and a third print. I only have 2 more outs on Meta here, looking for that to come in. And here it comes. Here we go. 475 and a third incoming. 30 on the ask, 17 on the bid. Yeah, and there's still resistance at this level because it is VWAP. I'm going to pack my patience because I think this one might come in eventually. I'm getting 33 right now, as you can see, guys, on the ask, but it's got a cross. It's an 11 penny spread with 22s on the bid. Go Meta. I'm going to call it a punk, but, we don't want to offend it there. I'm trying to get the print. But Neil is ready for his lesson of the day. Send it over to Neil.
Welcome to your lesson of the day, brought to you by, it's actually, we don't have a sponsor for this, but I had a really delicious Galaxy chocolate bar, which is like a chocolate bar from Saudi Arabia. I got a piece of it from Refrain, because Refrain is nice like that and always shares treats when she has them. So I'm already in a good mood because it's a good day trading, and it's also a fantastic day whenever I get free treats or chocolate or anything of the sort. Sometimes your best trade is the trade that you don't make, the loss that you avoid, the plan that you stick to, not necessarily your biggest winning trade. And a lot of times what is going to happen, and this should be true, the idea that you like the best, or the stock that's at the biggest key level, or the one that provides the best opportunity, risk to reward, or the biggest potential move from the entry that you like, all of those things make a trade or an idea good. You should usually, when they go wrong, end up losing the most amount of money on those types of positions. But the good thing about it is sometimes just because it gets to that level or sets up that trade that you thought was going to be one of your big ones, doesn't mean you have to take it. I'm going to walk you through a couple of ideas here, or at least a couple of scenarios where that can be the case. Now, you would have heard me this morning, and anybody watching the morning show knows exactly what I'm going to be getting at here. Coinbase, the last 2 days, I mean, you could call it 3 days, failing around 240. I would argue that you kind of had this failure late in the day off the 240 a couple of days ago. And then you had the failure in earnest at the 240 level. So 3 days ago, then 2 days ago, you had that real failure at 240. Yesterday, off a higher low, you had a failure underneath as well. So you're going to be in the middle of the range this morning. And the good part about the idea for myself in the trade was I did have a bit of an out because you're trading in the middle of the range. And what I would have said is, Almost exactly. We've been failing the 70,000 level on Bitcoin. And it's not to say that Coinbase has to follow Bitcoin. But the idea here is, okay, well, if we're still diddling and failing under 70,000 and not doing anything in crypto in general, then to me it would be hard to punch through a resistance level. So as long as that's not happening, then I would look for the short at the 240. If it's going to be above 70,000 and strong and breaking out, I don't take the short off of 240. Now, what that ended up manifesting itself in is not getting the trade when it fails underneath here at 238.90. We didn't quite punch to the 240 level, but when it makes this bounce off VWAP in an upward trend in a 240, at that point we'd broken through the 70,000 on that chart I showed you. There was more momentum to the upside, so I can like the level all I want, but it didn't give me the setup that I needed. It would be similar if I was taking a trade in a Mag 7 name. It's like, I like this resistance, but if the futures are breaking X level, I'm not a huge fan of it. So in that case, I'm not going to do it. Now, the reason why I would change that tune is because it's an upward trend. Now, if I like the short level on the stock and coin was downtrending despite the fact that Bitcoin was breaking 70,000, I might still like the short because coin was downtrending. But in this case, if it's going to be in an uptrend, and if I'm going to short a stock that is strong, I'd want to make sure there's that confluence. I want to make sure that there's still underneath that 70,000, and we're not going to violate that rule. And then you see how it breaks up here. I could have somehow finagled a winning trade if you get it early, if you just take it before the 40 level, which I wasn't looking to do. Usually Coinbase, when it tests the level, kind of blows through. And maybe I could have just said, okay, fine, it broke here, fail break back down under. That's actually not a bad setup. I could have won a trade. But I would rather in that situation just sit it out instead of get stubborn. There's a lot more ways in which I can lose a short around that area when we're through 70,000, when I'm not in love with it as much, as I can make money. Obviously, there were places you could have made money short. But against the trend, if it's not exactly how you want it, you do not have to take the trade. Now, this is going to work in both directions. Anytime you try to mitigate risk, and I'm a trader who one of my skill sets is to mitigate risk. When a lot of people have bad days, I'm the kind of that guy that's going to get out a little bit sooner, go station to station, go from one level to another level, not always hold the entire bulk, have a trailing stop, always adhere to my stops. Those kind of things are kind of in my DNA. But if that's going to be the case, if you're mitigating risk, you're going to miss out on some trades as well for a similar reason. Because you might decide, in that case, not to go against Coinbase and short it, but then at the same time, if you get a similar move in a stock that you might like on the bid, and it's looking relatively weak and it's not quite at your level, well, you're not going to jump into the long. I'll give the example of Apple because it happened to be the one today, but it didn't quite get into that support level. You're seeing it peak here, the 193. It actually was in a downward trend. So when it was fail break at the top and trending down, I wasn't willing to step out in front of that level, because it was fail break trending down, which I think is a little bit bearish off of the open. It tries to take out previous high and then comes down as retesting the low. So because that was breaking that rule, I wasn't willing to compromise on price. It ends up being a winning trade to go into the long. So the same thing that gets me away from making a mess of Coinbase keeps me out of the Apple trade. That said, it's not always a bad thing. I'll give you an example on Apple where we didn't get in, but then there was a chance on Intel where it did. Another failed above resistance trade breaking to the downside. There was a bounce that didn't quite get to the 30 level. So here's your bounce. I decide not to take it. I'm not going to take the bounces shy of the level that we wanted to 30. So unlike Apple, it does give us the opportunity at the precise price that we want. So this is kind of where you have to decide what style of trade you're going to be in, what kind of trader you're going to be. Any action you take that mitigates risk or that tightens your risk up is probably going to come at the expense of either holding trades a little bit longer or the amount of entries that you're going to be able to get, all of those things. But you've got to stick to that plan. You can't jump from one to the other willy-nilly, otherwise things just aren't going to add up for you. So decide what style you're going to be, stick with that plan of action, and you should absolutely be fine. So if you're going to be that person that has to set up perfectly, then make sure the trade's set up perfectly. Wait for that absolute bottom. On Intel, in this situation, it gives you one and it doesn't give you the other. But guess what? then for me, I should not be in Apple and I should be in Intel, and that's how it should be. If I'm in both of them, then I'm kind of doing two things that are opposing. If I'm in Apple and not Intel, then all of a sudden I'm doing something that doesn't make sense for my style and for my strategy. So you stay in your lane, but you've got to define the lane that you're going to be in. You don't want to be that person doing 60 in the passing. Well, I guess, okay, you guys are in the States, right? So let's call it, you don't want to be doing 50 in the passing lane because you guys do miles per hour. But you don't want to be that person, right? Like, you want to be comfortable in the lane that you're in and sticking with your trading strategy. Sometimes that's going to mean avoiding trades that don't set up perfectly, because you're against the grain and you're not getting the confluence. But remember, you are going to give up on potential winners when that is the case. I know sometimes you'll have a short, it's like, oh, but if you did short it, if you did take that entry, you could have made it work. That doesn't matter if 7 out of 10 times doing it that way is going to cause you a loss. At the end of the day, you've got to trade your risk pattern, and if you have 2 conditions that have to be met and only one is, either you can paper trade it or trade for less shares, or just don't take it at all. And when both conditions are met, or all 3 conditions or whatever it might be, then get into that trade. Trade your best setups, avoid the ones that aren't perfect, and that's the way you can have some consistency. That's your lesson of the day.
Thank you very much, Neil. Informative, eloquent, and awesome as always, guys. Neil Roberts, every day around noon, dropping hot lines on his lesson of the day. Make sure you're around to catch that. Thank you again, Neil. All right, while he was dropping hot lines, we got into holo over here. So did come into my level. We triggered at 77. Should have packed my patience and got 75s. First beak wetter is at 82. Out of the entire position for a stop through the break of 166. That is where the low is. That's a trough. So if we break through that, it is a lower low and the trade is no longer valid as a trend trade. So that is a look for me there. Now, Meta, we got it out right there. Very happy with this one at 475.40. I have one more out on Meta. It's either going to be a breakout trade or a stop loss, not taking anything out of that. The dead one, there is a seller. I will not be convinced otherwise. At the $0.25 level, in between a quarter to a third, it came back up there again and rejected. It shows you a lot better on the 5, where you can see all the topping tail candles come into that level, reject again. There isn't the size on the book to warrant, the book, to warrant, rejecting off their umpteen amount of time. So my assumption at this point is it's a hidden seller, possibly at different levels, or reloading, because there are times where we break through the $0.25. You'll see there right at 11.25, we got all the way up to 28. So there have been times where we broke above the $0.25. So keep your eye out on Apple, because it keeps ranging. Now, I'm not saying it's going to range forever and ever, but for the moment, it is doing that. So that's the look there. So now the one that I really need to kind of keep my eye on and manage properly is holo, because this one can go against me in a heartbeat, right? We've seen this one do really well and then retrace the entire move all day. So I'm waiting at 82s right now. It's printing 80s. Let's see what we get there.
Yes, I really want to thank Neil for the lesson of the day. I always like to hear these lessons because I learn a lot from them, and I think today was really apropos, and I think it also made me feel better about a lot of what I was saying today. I was saying I was kind of, questioning my style, but it's like, if you know something works, take the setups that make sense for that, but also make sure you play those setups appropriately, right? So if you want to scalp. If you have those type risk management, try to do that as well, right? And that, to me, those have been the trades that have been the most successful. And I think also I was getting kind of in my head too with this Tesla nonsense. It's like, Adara, you didn't know Tesla was gonna pop up 50 cents and drop 50 seconds the second you got in a short. Like, you can't be too hard on yourself. You can't castigate yourself for things that you don't have any control over. All you can do is do what you can do. And I think that matters. So I'm gonna keep acting like a motivational speaker, because why not? Also, Tesla, if you want to keep rejecting this 175, okay, we're actually gonna set instead of a rip buy, we're gonna set dip buy, we're gonna set a rip sell here. 415s, because I do like the fact that we keep rejecting this area. Also, I'm in an Apple short, and looks like we're not going to be in a second, because if we break above 25s, I'm out. But I did, Apple decided that the second we were speaking about the hidden seller, Apple's like, where? Here, we're gonna go up. So all good. Apple's my worst name of the day. This name has not been for me, but I do like that Tesla short, and IWM ended up working out for me, and I'll get back in this if I keep seeing that rejection of 202. I just wanted to get out because I wanted to have a bit of a clean slate, take a break from that trade, and just, get water, breathe, get this delicious fish. But yeah, so this basically I kept adding it and subtracting it at 202 rejection. That IWM is something I want to add to, but also we have to check on Stressla because I am involved in that name now. And yeah, how are you doing over here? How's the MLDO? That's a sell-off and a half.
Yeah, thank God I ain't involved in that, but yeah, there are other issues. All right, Apple at 194.28. So this is the level that we were talking about that we rejected off last time. Let's see if Apple, okay, here comes 31s. The dead one now is waking up. Let's see if we can get 32s. I'm waiting right at 33s, I believe, at the third of a dollar. We'll see if we get that. We're still technically within the range. We just got a little bit to the higher end of the range, so I got a little excited, forgive me. So we'll see if that one triggers, not triggering up yet. As you can see by the percentage up on the day, up 0.13 gives you an idea of how it's been trading on said day. HOLO long 77s. This one's still printing at 79s, a little 80 here, a little 79 here, slowing down, which concerns me. These small cap gappers, they're not large caps. They can't just slow down and, maintain their level. Sometimes, when the volume drops, usually the price drops on these. So I am concerned about that. My line in the sand for an L, it's already a hard stop. It's the break of $1.66, so we're risking 11 pennies on this name, but I'm not seeing what I want here. So I don't want to paper hand this trade and get out, but I'm not seeing what I want. I need better volume and I need better price direction, so that's not happening at the moment. The other trade that we're in, we're long Meta at 470, 407s, but look at this has just been the range trade. I don't want to call it of the century or anything like that, but this has been a dalliance here with the volume weighted average price and pivot points to the south side, view up to the north side. It keeps rejecting off that level. Now, you could make the argument it's rejecting off 475, which is, fine, but the fact of the matter is we're getting quite a bit above there. So I think that we're rejecting off VWAP only to have the closing print close at or below VWAP. That's on Meta. The other trade that we were talking about today, go Apple. The other trade that we were talking about today is the ZON. AMZN, the reason I was talking about it, not because it's done anything spectacular, it's down 0.13, almost the exact opposite of Apple, up 0.13, but this one had a discernible trend, at least one that I could discern, with a sequential higher lows. But it's done nothing. The flat top, it's had wicking candles through the closing print on yesterday, 178 1/3. It's had topping tail candles that go all the way into 178 2/3, but nary is there a closing print above that, above yesterday's closing print. So I don't know, the higher lows definitely got my attention, but it's not doing much. All right, did we get the print on Apple? I don't think we did. Let me just check real quick over here. No, the dead one did not print. We came right into that level. Here we are, we're at 33s again. It's got a cross, though. So there is a seller at a third of a dollar because it didn't cross. So we'll see. I don't really have anything else other than that. Holo, I'm now 1 penny out of the money of, and I got to tell you, I'm not liking this trade at all. I think what I might do is I might move up my stop from 66s, which is the break of this trough, and I'm going to put it for the low of this candle. So the low of this candle over here is 173. So I'm going to put it at 172. Yeah, because this ain't doing it for me, bro. This ain't doing it for me at all. HOLO. Yeah, maybe once, but not twice, because the trade that I was trying to do here was a price action support trade. And it did it over here where it came into that $1.66, cleared it, came back to $1.60x, and then we moved up. So I was trying to do the same thing with a $1.75. We get to $1.75, reject, clear it, then come back and defend 175, but it's not really making any newer highs. So that might be the end of that. Now, as Neil was dropping hot lines, this one showed up on my scanner, VSTE, up 120%. Let's flip to the 1 minute on this one, Ram, because this one did halt initially. 11 o'clock, 11:10 actually had a 5-minute halt again at 11:18. All have been 5-minute halts, 3 up halts, and the other one at 12:09. They've all been 5-minute. It's at VWAP right now, trying to fight to stay above 550, but the spread on this is wild. I see this one about a 25 penny spread, 550, the low 575 on the ask. So this one's awfully volatile here, and not really, I don't want to say not tradable, but it's awfully spready, and That's not how I like to trade these. So VSTE, let me give you the deets on it. $166 million market cap, about 5 million shares traded so far. The float is 2.75 million. And the short float, VSTE, shout out to the NOS boss, 0.5% of the float is shorted, so negligible. Nothing really to look at there for a short float, but 127% in the clear here, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, I am still in that IWM. Okay, I got back into IWM, sorry. Tesla, I risked about like 15 pennies. We got out. Nothing going there, nothing too much to discuss. But I want to talk about this IWM. I don't want to leave this one yet because I know, and I am cognizant, because someone was mentioning this in the chat, I'm cognizant of the fact that we do have these candles wicking to the downside. But on the other hand, if we can't break above 202, I don't think I have too much, quite frankly, to be like, you know, shivering over here about in fear as of right now. I'm getting out 40% of the position to 185s. Like we're just scalping. We're just having a chill time. I do appreciate, you know, everybody in the chat there, but I think right now for how I'm trading IWM, we're having lower highs. Initially, we'd have those pops into 202.10s. I have not seen that in many moons. Right now, if we get 202 and reject, that's kind of been the new level. I mean, you know, I'd love to see again more breaks below 201.90s, and I am cognizant of the fact we of course do have these longer tails, which did make me a bit nervous to get back on the trade in the first place. But it's about confidence. Like if you have things you like, and it's also about the balance of the evidence, right? So if I have these tails with these wicks to the downside, but I also have lower highs, to me, and the fact we've had these consistent lower highs, we're below the 90 EMA, to me, in the way that I trade and the way I scalp, I have more confluence for a short. So I want to say that. I mean, hey, IWM, you want to stay below 201s, I'd be pleased as punch. But right now, like I said, you have to do what you want to do. And I think as well, it can be really easy, especially because you know you have so many screens in front of you, so many influences to get lost in the sauce. But you have to remember what your sauce is. I am not a spicy sauce. I'm not a sriracha. I like my honey garlic, and I have to trade in that specific way. Was that a weird analogy? Sure, maybe. But gotta love these markets. Also, Elon was mentioning my IWM short. I'm actually out of this, Elon, but thank you for the call. I took like, I think, did I take 30? I took 25 pennies on this. Got involved 160.80, got out 160.55s. Pleased as punch with that trade. And like I said, this was another case where I should have probably taken more shares, but that wasn't the point of the trade. The point of the trade was I was still managing my IWM, and I had a lot more shares in IWM at the time. And I said, Dara, you like this AMD short, just try taking it and with smaller position and see how it goes. So I think a lot of it, you know, A for effort sounds like I think it can be such a sarcastic phrase, but sometimes you do have to give yourself a little pat in the back for trying and for doing what you can. How goes BTC?
It's flying, Adair. 71,000 HOD on BTC today. Great day for Bitcoin, 2.5% in the clear. Ethereum, no slouch, 1 1/3 in the clear today for Ethereum. And here it is, the chart on BTC, baby. We got to that 71,000. That was a 10-15 print. And it was a topping tail candle, as you can see. But now we've organically retraced back into those highs. We're printing 70,908, knocking on the door of 71,000. Look, guys, we're at 70,000 on Bitcoin, and no stimmies are being sent out. All right? So that's all I can say about that. I'm not invested in Bitcoin at all, so I have no conflicts here, but I think this thing is going. I think it's going to hit 100,000. That's my opinion. And yeah, I'll just keep watching it from the sidelines and not print on it. All right, Holo is breaking down. So as I anticipated, the volume is no go on this one. I have my out already at 171. Why did that not trigger? Oh, because it has to cross 171. Okay, so we were close to getting, we're going to get stopped out right now if the cross is 171. HOLO, the volume's dropping off, and this doesn't seem valid anymore. So if we get that cross, we're out. Up 15%. I think Adero is absolutely accurate in saying that it's moving in sympathy with WIMI because there's nothing here to justify a 15% move, especially on a dollar name moving intraday. All right, we did get that print on the dead one Apple. So we did get that third of a dollar print, but we're right back into that $0.25. But we did break above the range on a closing basis, at least on the 5. So here's my question, and I just finished talking about this like half an hour ago. When we range trade, sometimes we elevate the range. So we're still ranging for the entire day, but we start using the previous area of support as now, or sorry, resistance. We start using the previous area of resistance as support. So if that was to happen, did you hear?
I did. It was to happen on Apple.
If it was to happen on Apple, Ram, stop trolling me. Then we would use 195.25 as support rather than resistance this time. So let's see if that happens with Apple, because we just finished talking about it. So it's above right now, got into that 43 or 44 area, and it just came back to a $0.25 and found some support. So let's see if 194.25 now starts acting as a support level rather than a resistance level on the dead one, AAPL. Let's see what we get there. But as you can see, with all these names, it is very consolidated.
Yeah, we'll just see what happens. But for now, we're going to have to thank our sponsor there, Vantage Point Software. Created by world-renowned trading software pioneer Louis B. Mendelson, Vantage Point forecasts stocks, futures, forex, and ETFs with a remarkable proven accuracy of up to 87.4%. Using artificial intelligence, Vantage Point's patented neural network processes predict changes in market trend directions 1 to 3 days in advance. Scan that QR code to learn more. Thank you to Vantage Point. And I mean, we love AI over here in these markets, so shout out to them, absolutely, and scan that old QR code. But yeah, no, things do happen. I got it on IWM, basically flat for the rest of the position. Yeah, I don't know. I think we are seeing maybe a bit of a change in the tides, as Sharif sometimes says. We got that break above 202. Just as quickly, we gave up the ghost. If we keep projecting at 202.10, that could be interesting. But right now, I don't have anything screaming at me to short it. So I don't want to get back involved in this. But really proud of what I did at IWM. Proud I stuck with it. Proud I kept, going for it. Tesla, I got out of that short. Like I said, I was in the Tesla short, and then I left said Tesla short because we had that pop above that 35 area, so I got out. Now we're back to the area that I like, but I mean, Tesla, if you're going to stay below the 90 EMA, I will keep shorting you. Fair warning. Tesla and Apple are more or less tied for my weakest names of the day. I do want to shout out Sharif for that awesome Apple trade, though, because success happens when you work hard and you have ideas you like. So I do want to shout out Sharif and his Apple trade. Yeah, I'm still looking around at these markets. AMD, if you want to keep projecting the 90 EMA, you're a short to me. Tesla's a short to me. And that meta range is, I know you're calling it the range of the century. And I don't actually disagree. I haven't looked at it much just because, like I said, meta, I kind of tend to dislike trading due to the spread. But I mean, meta, I like this meta. And you can't not take trades because you're worried about losing on them. You have to take trades if you like the trade. If we get back to 474.80s and the spread isn't bad, I'm getting involved in this. How's it going?
Every day between 2 to 2:20, you have your say about what the big kahunas talk about. Get into the chat right now. Go ahead, enter that prompt, join, space, the $sign, and the ticker of your choice. Neil and Sean on the afternoon rundown will give you their look. If they traded it, they'll tell you how they traded it, what they were looking for. If they didn't, they'll give you their look on the levels or why they didn't trade it, why it wasn't in their purview on the day. So get into the chat right now, exclamation point, join, space, $sign, and the ticker of your choice. If you want to talk about MLGO, we saw Neil dropping hot lines and levels about MLGO in the chat. It's off the highs now at 15, doing the dance at the volume weighted average price right now. Or do you want to hear about OLMA, or do you want to hear about HOLO? Get into the chat and have your say. Otherwise, you're not going to get the big kahuna analysis, baby. And you're going to have to deal with the small kahuna analysis over here with Adara and I. I don't mean to call you a small kahuna, obviously, but you get my point there.
Yeah, we're the smaller kahunas.
Smaller kahunas. Hey, I like that. All right, Apple on the way up again, baby. Coming into that $50 area. Shout out to the Katina man, baby. He's printing on that as well. The Katina killer over there on the desk doing things. We all know what he does over there. So AAPL coming into 194.50. It's now broken above that $0.25 resistance level that we were talking for a hot minute about. Let's check out what Meta is doing. Well, it's right back into that resistance level again. Alas, I only have one more out on Meta, so it's going to have to be a breakout fill or a stop out. I'm not going to take it out here in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to pack our patience for this meta trade. I apologize for the wicks. I will have those corrected when we come on here last. The one that is hurting me right now is HOLO. The volume is almost none. It's not tanking though. That's the thing. That's what's keeping me in this trade. I can just get out here for a loss of 2 pennies, but I'm not seeing that aggressive move down. Well, what, Sharif? Why do you have to wait for that aggressive move down? Why don't you just get out here if you don't like what you see? I don't know. Stubborn guy. What can I say? So I'm going to pack my patience about this. Anyway, KP, levels please, for Apple. So I got to tell you, KP, in my humble estimation over here, we had resistance at 194.25 for the majority of the morning. I'm of the opinion now that we're going to use that 194.25 as support. So I'll play the range on Apple, but I'll flip what I was using as resistance, and now I'll use it as support. That's my look. Jay Lee, you should call Sean a print factory. I told him he's a print factory before. The Katina man is short Micron 126.20. We saw him in that trade earlier on the day. MU down 1 2/3. He's already 15 pennies in the money. Short Micron 126.20. I think he does more trades than the rest of the floor combined. Yeah, I know, bro. You guys see his fills per day. It's quite the
He's
sight.
gone over them before, and they're like wild.
Yeah.
Oh, this many fills. We're like.
But I've always known that about him, though, because even when I was a viewer, he would show us, hey? I'm going to say 234. 4 stocks. We're going to find out how many fills. He's going to give us the tally right now.
I'm excited.
So, yeah, we're waiting for bated breath over here. 111. All right, so it's not his highest ever, I'll tell you that. I've seen way higher with Sean in the several hundreds in the past. Yeah, we'll put more patience. The day's not over. So we'll see what we get. Apple all the way up into 194.50. So I'm going to be looking to play the range a little bit different way this time. I wanted to mention as well that the monster NVIDIA is at VWAP. And last time we came into the VWAP area, we had a bit of a double top right here at 1040 and then 1045. We broke VWAP by some distance, and in fact, we broke the closing print by some distance, but it is an $1,150 name, so you really need to account for that in your stops and how much room you give it. Anyway, it's having trouble right now with VWAP, a little bit above, a little bit below. Keep your eye on the monster NVDA, down a 1/4 point right now as we speak. But yeah, coming into resistance.
Yeah, I'm flipping. I know I'm pretty short biased, but I think right now some of these names like AMD are flipping long, so I want to play that accordingly. You might be like, Adara, why do you say this? I'll tell you why. Look where we bounced off of. That's right, the previous low of day of this 160.30 range. We have this gorgeous bullish candle. This is a higher low. I want to go long. That's the strategy with that. You know, sometimes confidence is harder to come by, but you have to be confident in yourself. You have to be confident in your ideas. And you have to be confident in what you do. And you also can gain confidence by learning with things like lessons.
I love your segues, Adara.
Thank you, I try.
Your segues
I'm
are
not
like...
gonna lie, say I don't try.
Okay, your segues are new. Even like when I have a stock up there, like the way you'll segue out, how's Meta? How's this?
I like
Or how's a Cybertruck, right? All right, guys, we are talking about the short squeeze all week long. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the short borrow fees and how to use them to gauge market sentiment of supply and demand. So short borrow fees are a secret weapon for traders interested in heavily shorted stocks. This lesson equips you to understand and leverage these fees to potentially make informed decisions in your trades. So let's get right to it. As we always do, we're just going to quickly define what shorting is. So before diving into fees, let's recap short selling. For shorting, a trader borrows shares from a broker, sells them, hoping that the price will drop, and then if they do drop, he later or she later repurchases them at a lower price and returns them to the broker. The profit here comes from the difference between the selling price and the repurchase price. The person who was short takes the difference there, okay? And there is exactly a perfect example of it. Right, you short up here, you buy back down here, and the difference between that price and this price, that's called your profit. So the fee factor. Borrowing shares isn't free. So if you want a percentage rate, that won't make a difference to intraday traders, but it will make a difference to swing traders who are holding for prolonged periods of time because it eats into your profit because it's an annualized rate. So you need to be cognizant of that. This fee charged by the broker who locates the borrowed shares from somebody else who's fully paid for them. So if you own 100 Apple shares that are fully paid for, not bought on margin, you can choose to loan out those shares and get some of that fee that the broker is charging to the person who's shorting. So look at that as a way to generate cash, for example. So why do you want to monitor the short borrow fees? How does this help you, right? It does. It actually offers very valuable insight. The first one is a demand gauge. So high borrow fees here indicate strong demand for shares to short a stock. This is suggesting that significant bearish sentiment is present on that name, which is potentially foreshadowing a short squeeze if the price starts rising. The cost of the squeeze, though, is important as well. So high fees make it expensive for short sellers to maintain their positions. If the price goes up, they might be forced to buy back the shares at a loss, further fueling the squeeze. And the potential squeeze easing, another factor to consider here. A sudden drop in the borrow fees might be indicating to you an increased share availability. Well, if there's increased share availability for shorts, what does that mean? It could mean, or it could signal, the weakening of the squeeze as short sellers find it easier to cover their positions. So all those things you need to take into account when you are playing these names. So finding the fees, how are you going to do that? I mean, I mentioned it was a little bit tougher on me on my platform. Super easy here on the floor, and I'm going to show you exactly why in a second. So short borrow fee data isn't as readily available as some other data on most stock quote websites, but here are a few resources. The first one is financial data providers. This is more for institutions like S3 Partners or IH Market. They offer real-time historical short borrow fees and data, but for subscription, so you got to ante up for that. You can also try some fintech platforms like the Robinhoods or whatever, the E-Trades. I'm not sure what else you guys have there in the States. Obviously, IBKR doesn't have it in Canada. So some trading platforms with advanced features might display borrow fee data for stocks on their watch list. And the brokerage firms, some brokers, particularly those catering to active traders, might provide borrow fee information to their clients. You're going to have to find out what data source works best for you. So how do you use this data? So don't view borrow fees in isolation. Obviously, here's how to integrate them into your trading strategy. First of them, combine them with the short interest. So how much of the fees being charged? Is it high or low historically for that name? That's step number one. Then step number two, what's the short interest on that name? You can use trade ideas right here. Shout out to them. Use code tradertv20 for 20% off. And as you see, we looked up what the short float was on VSTE, and it was quite negligible. Only 0.5% of the float is short. So not much to see there. You should also be tracking fee changes. So monitor the sudden spikes or drops in the borrow fees over time to identify potential turning points in the short squeeze, and consider other factors. Don't rely solely on fees, guys. Analyze the stock's fundamentals, its news catalysts, and its technicals for a more complete picture. And as we always do, we got to leave you with a few words of caution here. Borrow fees are dynamic. Fees can fluctuate rapidly based on supply and demand. And just to make that point real quick here, the Katina man sent me this earlier, and I don't know where my chat window keeps going, but we're going to load up another one over here. Sorry about that, Ram. I know that you don't like that. But here it is. Where is it? Sean Katina. Yes, there it is. Thank you. So this is what he sent me over here. Look at this. So this is pay for shorts on MLGO. To get 100 of these bad boys is going to cost me the expensive price of 37 pennies. What does that tell you? That not a lot of people want to short this monster. And so it's a little bit on the cheaper side. But look at this up here. Offer expires in 1 minute, 51 seconds. That's very important as well, because this is giving me the indication that this price is based on a time limit. And the reason is because the demand for those 100 shares is going to fluctuate all the time. So they can only guarantee me that 37 cents for 100 shares for a specific amount of time. So you need to be cognizant of the fact that this is very supply and demand driven. Okay? And obviously, these borrow fees are not a guarantee of any sort, or they don't guarantee a squeeze of any sort either. Other factors can influence the stock price, no question about that. And you should always be focusing on risk management. Short squeezes can absolutely be volatile. Always have stop loss orders in place to limit potential losses, if not hard stops, and make sure you are following through with mental stops. I got stopped out of Holo, by the way, broke 170.
I'm sorry
That's
to hear
okay.
that. I ended up scalping AMD. You might be like, Adara, why? Maybe you probably weren't, because I think I did this trade pretty much on the low. But I took it off the 90 MA bounce because I thought we were flipping. Now I think we're flipping back to short. I'm not getting short yet, but if we see another rejection, now we're gonna, because the initial plan was to piece this out every time we got to 160.80 and then add, and then we never really got to 160.80. We got to like 160.72 or 3, and then we sold off. So with that in mind, especially with these tails to the upside, I think I have to flip short on this and then just scalp like mad. So if I see another failure here, and I'm gonna watch to see what we do with this area, that is absolutely gonna be the plan. Just scalp, 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 scalp. Also Tesla. Yeah, sorry, I just realized that didn't say anything. I think Tesla could be a bit of a long flip here because we're bouncing off the 90 MA near VWAP. I tried to get involved in this earlier, popped like 20 pennies. I was like, cool, Tesla doesn't want me, it's all good. I'll wait for the Cybertruck. So yeah, I don't know, if we keep seeing this like 42 area and this holds, then that's something I'm okay with. But a lot of these moves today are here for a good time, not a long time. We have these mega caps moving like the penny stocks. So I just, if you are a bit of a scalper trader, be cognizant of that. And I say that because I have been a little bit chopped and turned in this chop and turn today. IWM though, I think that, okay, as I say that, Tesla pops up. I'm like, cool, Tesla, do your thing, 21. I respect that, AMD popping up, so I should have stayed in the long, but I still took my profits, so I'm not gonna complain. I'm also happy that I didn't go short. But IWM, man, if you wanna break above this 202.10 area that I like, that'll be a great look. I will take it long 202. I have no qualms. But I think the thing with IWM that I have to be very cognizant of is we do keep wicking lower. So make sure that everything is making sense and being traded appropriately for myself. Also Meta. Meta was rangy. I tried to short it off of that rejection, and Meta was like, no. Meta did okay. Now Meta pops up a lot of pennies here. Sharif is very in the money on this in the sim, so shout out to Sharif. Congrats to Sharif. Great look on M to the E, to the T, to the A. Yeah, I honestly, guys, I wish I had some trades on here right now. Like I said, this has not been my day, so I've been just trying to make sure that I'm patient and not trading all willy-nilly. This Tesla, I really should have had the confidence for that, but the reason I didn't was because we were not really committing to it the way that I would have liked to see that commitment. Gaurav saying Amazon is starting to break its resistance on the day. Look at those 10-minute candles going straight in. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I think this is the daily chart. Okay, let's take a look at the 10-minute. Yeah, we're really trying to push up higher here, that is for sure. On the daily chart, oh, my daily chart shut down. Okay, let's pull up the new daily chart there for Amazon. Let's see what's going on in the zone, as Sharif often calls it. Did you see your Meta? Because pat yourself on the back for that Meta.
Somebody was telling me it was a short earlier.
It's not a short. I tried shorting it and got a little bit. But it was, you know me, it was like a range.
Yeah,
but it still didn't work out. But I want to shout out your Amazon trade, or sorry, your Meta trade. But yeah, Amazon, yeah, I see what you mean, Grub. I think we have a higher low on the daily chart. We're trying to push higher here. I do like this bottoming tail candle on the daily. Oh, wow. And this base of 176. So nice look. Thank you for pointing that out, Gaurav. I think if it can break above that 180 area and the 90 MA in the daily chart, I think I'd probably like that look even better. But right now, Amazon looks like my favorite kind of trade, and that's going to be a range.
Ooh.
At least on the daily, not on the intraday. But how are you doing on your Apple and your Meta?
Apple is doing really well. We're $1.50 in the money on that one. We just got out of Meta. So that's the end of the trade of Meta, 476.25 out there. This was one more out, and so yeah, that's the end of that trade. But good look there on Meta. It's a range until it's not. Like we're not gonna end the world in this range, right? Well, something is gonna happen. It's gonna break up or break down, and that's exactly what happened here. It's a range for a short time. I guess not a long time. 477.5. That's the closing print on Meta from yesterday. So I'd be looking, if you're still holding Meta long, I'd be looking for to de-risk in and around that area. 477.48 was the closing print from Meta on the day yesterday. Amazon broke up as well, so it looks as if those higher lows were, foreshadowing something, but I don't want to give Amazon all the credit because look what the Future did. The Future rocketed up right into yesterday's closing print. Surprise, surprise. 18,644 or 45. Lo and behold, we're finding resistance there again. We've been up there a whole bunch of times. As you can see, we had topping tail candles through that print multiple times, never on a closing basis, at least not today. So let's see, at least on the 5-minute chart, maybe on the 1 minute, we got a closing basis, but that I don't care about that. So let's see if we're able to get above and go back into Greensville here on the NQ and get out of this range that we've been in all day. But if we don't get out of the range, who cares? Wait for the rejection of this closing print from yesterday and take the Future back down short. The T triple Qs, the triple Qs, the S triple Qs, whatever you want to trade. There's so many different vehicles, and we did an entire lesson on it 2 weeks ago. So go back and, or last week. Thank you.
Flies.
It was a measured move the weekend before that. I remember because someone called it the measured mustache. I still really think that's hilarious.
It is really fun.
I was at the big desk when someone said that, and I told Brendo that. He ended up collapsing in laughter too. So that was funny. Anyway, we're dancing with this closing print from yesterday on the Future. So I want to see how this resolves. But while we watch that, we can watch all the other Mag 7, not all, but a lot of the other Mag 7 names here make HODs. Apple knocking on the door of 195 again. When will that 195 door open? We talked about this at the beginning of the show. Look at the last few days. 195 has been the line in the sand for the dead one. Up into that 195 every time, selling off. But alas, we are putting in higher lows. So we're accumulating, in my opinion, for a 195 break. When it comes, your guess as good as mine. So we'll keep an eye on Apple here as it makes its way into high days. Amazon just printed high day, 178.91. Great look there. NVIDIA, it's not at high day, but it broke above that closing print from yesterday, that 1150. We're not well above that. We're about $3 above that right now at 1153. Right, breaking above this area of resistance right here. Let's see if we do it on a closing basis, not just a wick and dip. So fantastic look for the trend traders, at least here, because now we're breaking out of this range funk that I think we've been in almost all day on these Mag 7 names. So we'll keep watching that Adair. Magic Mike, please, bro, pull up Tesla. Tap. It's about to run. Tap. What is it? Halted? No? All right. Well, Tesla, it's right here, brother. And Tesla it's okay. I'll analyze the chart for you. It's put in a bit of higher lows. We had a nice double bottom there off 174. That was the IB low. We tested it again at 10 to 15. Shout out to the Katina man who took that trade. But we've been rejecting 176 and a quarter, 176 and a third all morning. We had a couple of prints on a closing basis above it, but look what we did right after that. Tank City. And then the entire afternoon has been topping tail candles or wick candles off that closing print. We're curling right above to it right now, knocking the door of 176 again. But I got to tell you, this one is not breaking out quite yet. Donnie Zimbabwe, my man, $10 super chat. Donnie, why is it every day I see you up like 25 grand or 10 grand or what's going on over there, Donnie? Like share a little bit, brother. Up 7K on Sad's Q's blessed every day. Kill it, dude. Let's bring some roaring kitty to his knees as well as GME puts for me. I ain't echoing that sentiment. I don't want to be called a suit or anything like that, but shout out to you, Donnie. As we always say on the show, I hope you print. Shout out to you, Donnie Zimbabwe.
I do love the I hope you print. I think it's such a good, genuine sentiment. And yeah, I mean, Donnie Zimbabwe, the reason I gasped there, because I'm like, yeah, no wonder you are feeling blessed every day. That's amazing. Shout out to you. I'm going to give you a round of applause, and thank you so much for the super chat. Also, Killer Cam mentioned snow being, quote, kind of weak. And I agree, and I love the look of this short. And I tried to get involved, and Snow was like, no. And I don't want to, I don't want to be too flaky about this trade and try to chase it. So I could not chase Snowflake. But I mean, look at this gorgeous, gorgeous rejection. We bounced off 137 earlier. Look where we have this topping tail wick into and fail. 137. This is gorgeous. This is such a nice chart. The other reason that I'm a little more hesitant to get into the short is because we have had higher lows. So there could be a bit of a curl. I want to be cognizant of that. I am in a long right now, and it's this Disney, and I like the idea of a flat top break here. Because look at this flat top here, around 102.80s, higher low, higher low, higher low. I don't mind this. I really don't. If we break below 65s here, I'll get out. That's fine. But the plan was I actually do have enough shares that I can, you know, put a few, sprinkle them around all willy-nilly. I need more coffee, clearly.
Okay.
That's going to be the plan there. Let's do this.
All right. So you guys know that we have a new podcast, right? And it's called the Freedom and Wealth Podcast. And to say a lot of effort is being made into this podcast, or is being put into this podcast, would be a gross understatement. It really is. There's so much effort being put in by everybody here. And I want to show you guys, this is the much coveted new podcast room. And I just want to show this over here, guys, because this has been a lot of work by Mark, by Rob, by Fabian, Brendo, obviously. The Katina man has been involved in this. We're very proud of this whole thing, guys. And we're definitely looking at creating more content for you guys in a bunch of other ways, Ram. I just wanted to show this super quick. I know it's moving real quick. This is the Chilean Nightmares video, by the way. So you think, you know, he'd do it. He'd use his camera skills, but he is. Whoa! Why is he showing his feet? Ah, okay. Well, yeah, that's what it is. So make sure, guys, if you aren't subscribed already to the Freedom and Wealth Podcast, that you please do so, because it is one hell of a podcast right there. I'm going to show you. It's part of my subscriptions, Freedom and Wealth. There we go. Just want to pull that up. Here it is, baby. This is the channel right there, Freedom and Wealth Podcast. There's the Katina man. There's the Brendo. Make sure to go in and sub. 786 subs, and we've only been out for a few days, guys. Shout out to the big kahunas, Brendo and Sean, for the podcast.
Yeah, shout out to that podcast. Great watch. They talk about freedom and wealth. Great times. Also, I wanted to get short the spot, and the spot was like, yeah, you are really late to that party, man. We are going to the downside. But the other thing I'm keeping my eye on here is still going to be IWM. Oh, that's so many triangles in IWM.
Oh.
And never mind, it sold off, so that's not happening. I figured out Disney as well, because Disney did the thing 21, and I don't want to be there anymore. We're going to get out. I'm out of Disney. Yeah, like I said, this has not been my day, but it's all good. You're not going to have your days every day. I had a really good Friday. I had a really good yesterday, and you can't have those days every day. And the other thing, too, is, like I said, I was very in my head. I was kind of getting a little bit lost in the sauce, lost in the sriracha, lost in the barbecue, because I was like, oh, Adara, like, why aren't you holding for moves? Like, you know, sometimes, you know, you get in your head and you get a little flustered. And it's like, Adara, the reason the other days were working is because you were scalping, you were risking like nothing. That's what I need to get back to. So you sometimes, you know, to quote an old Christina Aguilera album, you have to get back to basics. That's what I'm trying to do. With that in mind, IWM, if you want to show that support at 202.10, I absolutely will take you long here. No qualms about that. I think the real trade here probably would have been that short off that rejection of 202.25. Obviously, I missed that, but I think right now I have no problem scalping. That's what I'm trying to do here. So we're going to keep with that. Also, Meta bouncing off that previous range top. That's a great look for me as well. META. Oh, okay. This might be the trade for me. This Meta. We'd have to watch this a little bit more, but the spread is not bad for Meta. And you know, earlier we had a trade that we had to forget, but that doesn't mean things can't get better. So hopefully we'll get this cheddar in Meta.
Whoa.
And with that in mind, how are you doing?
Good. We just had I'm sure you guys already know, but we already had a nice flush there off the top end of the range on the future. And this was the range we were talking about, 18,645. We get right into 18,652, and then Huadunk goes the dynamite all the way down into 18,608. But here we go again. A bit of a tug of war happening here between buyers and sellers. We do a bit of a bottoming tail candle there, and now we're trying to move up into the 30s again, the 18,630. So That was a great trade for whoever. I saw you guys in the chat like, oh, T triple Q. Who was it that was telling me? Mr. Long Shorts. Boom! Caught that short in the T triple Qs. Let's go. Shout out to you, my man. Hope you print, obviously. But yeah, there we go. Interesting range now. A little bit of a higher range. So we're going to use VWAP as the lower end of the range. And then yesterday's closing print on the NQ June contract as the high end, which is funny because, you know, this contract's almost up in like a couple of weeks. So we're going to have to, yeah, we're going to be rolling to the September contract now. I didn't get out of Apple because it didn't tank as aggressively as some of the other names. Like you saw that Meta drop from 477 into 474 and 3/4 and 2/3. But the Apple drop was a bit more subdued, and now we're back into that 194.60-ish area. So I'm going to pack my patience here. Wait, I have 2 more outs on Apple. I want to see if we can make it into that general 195 area. I de-risked a little bit over here. I wish I would have gotten it out in the 80s. I got it out in the high 50s. Well, we've been long Apple essentially all morning. Let's see if we can continue to move up. I'm just keeping my eye on any, you know, possible headlines possibly coming out of, you know, any global geopolitical headlines. Also, we don't have any economic data in the afternoon.
Not
today,
that
do
I'm
we?
aware of. No,
Okay,
not that
cool.
I saw.
All right, beauty. I'll just double check, make sure that everything is clear here. Come on, Timu. Always showing up on all the ads. Timu, do you want to hear something?
Please.
So a buddy of mine, he's in digital sales.
Okay.
Very aggressive in digital sales. Been doing it for like over a decade and a half. So
That's
he's
intense.
very involved in it.
Yeah.
He's like, Temu is eating everybody's lunch. They're buying up insane amounts of ad space, and it's an auction system, right?
Really?
So if you are buying it up hand over fist, then you're increasing the price on everybody else because you're buying up all the slots. So they got to outbid you in order to take it.
That's hard.
And he's like, Temu is killing everybody's margins because what you would do is I buy, say, 100 hours from Meta. I'm just giving you an example, okay? That's and then I'll sell that 100 hours to all my different subscribers. So I bought that 100 hours, let's say for X price.
Yeah.
Right? But you're paying Y price now because Temu's outbidding you for everything. So
That's-
Temu is like, is having an effect on the digital ad market as well, not just online sales, which I found to be very interesting, yeah. So I just wanted to mention that since it's the midday and it's 1 o'clock. Anything you're looking at over there?
I'm an AMD.
Okay.
Yeah, the reason I said that so is because this is kind of for me. Hopefully we will get a normal amount of sleep tonight because like I said, I have been tired and I do not trade as well when I'm tired. I have noted this. It has been remarked upon by me. Which, you know, you have to know your own brain. But yeah, with that in mind, I really want to shout out Neil's lesson of the day. Again, he always does that, as Sharif puts it, around the noon hour.
Yeah.
And today he was talking about how you have to know your style and trade according to your style. And I wasn't really doing that today. I was very much getting in my own head. And, you know, I think I have to kind of tune out other voices sometimes and just focus on yourself and what you do best. I always appreciate everyone around here. I always appreciate all the support in the chat, but it's also like you're the one trading, right? So you have to make trades that make sense for you. And that's, I think, something I've learned. And in today is an example of that. IWM, I'm really proud of what I did with that, but you know, you can't get so set in your ways or stuck in your head or whatever, yada, yada, yada. So I want to shout out everybody here. I'm always, you know, very appreciative to be part of this community and be part of the support. And I think, and I appreciate that this conversation we were having earlier, we were asking people in the chat, like, you know, how they trade, because I think that matters too. We all have our own styles, and I think if you know your own style, the more you know your own style, the more you can just commit to that. So I want to shout out Neil's lesson of the day, because that's something I'm trying to work on. We are going to do our lesson of the day one more time, but right now I'm going to wait for my little pal AMD to do its thing, 21. And also, we want to wait for you all to do your thing, 21, and vote.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Great segue, Dara. Every day from 2 to 2:20, you have your say about what the big kahunas are going to analyze. Go into the chat right now. Hit that prompt right there. Join. Exclamation point, join, space, $, and the ticker of your choice. You want to talk about this Apple trade. You want to talk about NVIDIA, AMD. Dara's in AMD right now. How about MLGO? How about VSTE? If you're into that small cap gapper trade, go into the chat right now. Have your say every day, and we will discuss the name of your choice on that afternoon rundown segment. All right, I'm looking here at Meta again, guys. And this was kind of the thing that I was talking about earlier. We were using VWAP as that level of resistance. Now I kind of have the feeling we're using VWAP as support. So the range kind of moves up, right? Whereas this was your dividing line. Now we're going to move up and we're going to use it as our support. So I'd like to get something around here. The thing is, though, I'm going to keep this one tight. So I'm going to try to get in around 475, and then if it breaks that 474 and 2/3, so we're going to risk about $0.33 here on META to go long. It's still down 0.5%, but this is a range trade. So I want to set something up. Frugality might get me in trouble again here. I'm going to sit at 475.05 here to get the bottom end of the range if I'm able to. And the idea here will be to kind of range possibly into that 476.5, maybe even 477 if I'm lucky. All right, I'm long, so now we're gonna have to put in the stop. So it's gonna be 474.63, and we're gonna get out the entire position there. If it makes its way down, oh, I'm only partially filled at this price. Okay, so I only got a partial fill here, so we're gonna have to pack our patience to see if we get that full fill. Yeah, okay. Do you smell that? Someone just put on cologne or something. Yeah. It's not bad smell or anything like that.
Oh, it's just overwhelming?
It is overwhelming.
Oversmelling.
Wow. Okay.
That worked better in my head, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm long META here, looking for a range defend, trying to use VWAP now as a level of support. We still don't have the full fill. As you can see by the blue triangle, it'll flip green once we get that full fill, and there it is. Now it's time to put in said stop as we have the full fill there. And we might not last that long in this trade, baby, because it's coming down. And if it breaks the $0.33, or sorry, the 2/3 of a dollar, that's it with this trade.
Yeah, we're gonna do this in the day. I'm gonna leave a rip sell in for Snow because I realized after a lot of hemming and hawing that I really like this trade and I want to take this trade. And I saw it on my side chart. I was like, Adara, we keep resisting 137. What do you have to lose? Like, pardonnez-moi, what's happening? So I'm getting short there. Also, I want to talk about AMD. Someone was saying, what's the play on AMD? Now, everyone's gonna have their own levels, everyone's gonna have their own plays. I am not saying, you have to play how you want to play, but I will talk about levels that have existed on AMD, in case you are curious. So for me, the biggest levels in AMD have been that previous low of day this morning. That's gonna be that 160.80. That's how I played this short. I got it out, part out at 160.80, and then I saved a piece of the dream and ended up getting everything in at 160.80 because 160.80 has, for whatever reason, been a level in AMD. It was that previous low of day. Look, we were rejected earlier, then we were rejected again, right? Then the other area of rejection that we get in AMD is gonna be this 161 10s leading up into 20s. Now, why? Because that was previous support. So I would look for every previous area of support in AMD. I find those are the areas where AMD will get a little bit of resistance. So that's my take on that. Again, take that how you will. Everyone's gonna have their own trades. It's not advice, it's just my take on the chart. But AMD, these previous support and resistance levels have been hitting, and that's to me where the trades have been. Right. AMD is my best name on the day right now. I'm actually surprised by that because I had a lot of IWM trades. But right now, AMD, my best name of the day. And I think with AMD, there have just been certain levels that have been working. So again, that's my take on that. Everyone to each their own trade, but I just wanted to address that. Also, Snowflake, if you want, I'm going to change my entry on Snowflake, but Snowflake, if you would like to let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. While I'm in that lesson of the day, that'd be great because I really do want this short, and I want to shout out Killer Cam for bringing up the weakness in that.
Hello.
So there you go. Now it's time to talk about the short squeeze. More specifically, how do you decode short borrow fees? And I also want to shout out Sharif. I think this is such a cool lesson because it's not something you think about a lot, but it's a really important thing to think about in the short squeeze. So shout out to Sharif for preparing a lovely lesson of the day. So short borrow fees are a little secret weapon, part of your arsenal, pun intended, for the man to my right. For traders who are interested in heavily shorted stocks. So this lesson is going to hopefully equip you, or at least give you the groundwork that you can then build upon for understanding and leveraging these fees to potentially make more informed decisions in your trades. So shorting 101. Before we dive into fees, we're going to do a quick recap for short selling in case we have any new people, and I think it's always a nice thing to kind of echo and learn a little bit more about. So in short selling, you've got a trader borrowing from a broker, shares from a broker, I should clarify, not anything. You're not borrowing a boat from a broker, you're borrowing like shares from a broker. I mean, you could, but that's not going to be relevant to this strategy. You borrow shares from a broker, and then you sell them, hoping that the price will drop. And then later, you're going to repurchase them at a lower price to return to the broker. The profit will then come from the difference between the selling and the repurchase price. So here's one example I found online. So you show playing the short side, it doesn't matter the availability of the shares that you borrow. And so you're going to be getting in here and then getting out at the bottom of that move. So I think that's a pretty fun example. Now think about the fees, because borrowing shares is not free. Short sellers incur a fee which is typically expressed as an annualized percentage rate. This fee is charged by the broker who locates the borrowed shares. Now, why monitor borrowed fees? What's the point? Well, short borrow fees can help you even if you're not shorting. If you're in a heavily shorted stock, for example, you're trading AMC, GME, Upstart. Well, what insights does this give you? It's a good gauge for demand. High borrow fees can indicate strong demand for shares to short a stock, and then suggest significant bearish sentiment, which can potentially foreshadow a short squeeze if the price starts rising. The cost of the squeeze is also worth noting here, because high fees make it expensive for short sellers to maintain their position, and if the price goes up, they might be forced to buy back shares at a loss, which can further fuel the squeeze. Potential squeeze easing, or yeah, I guess putting the ease in squeezing here. Potential squeeze easing is worth noting as well, because if you've got a sudden drop in borrow fees, that could maybe indicate increased share availability. And this could signal a weakening squeeze as short sellers are finding it easier to cover their positions. Finding the fees is worth noting as well, because short borrow fee data is not readily available on most stock quote websites. So here are some resources. Financial data providers, so services like S3 Partners or IHS Market, offer real-time and historical borrow fee data English for a subscription though. There's also fintech platforms. Some fintech platforms will have those short borrow fees, which is always great here as well. You also have some brokerages, particularly those who cater to active traders, which might provide borrow fee information to their clients. But how do you use this data? Like, this data exists, but what are you going to do with it? Well, what you can do with it is you can use this not in isolation, but integrate it into your trading strategy. You can combine with short interest, for example. So high borrow fees alongside a high short interest paint a very strong picture, not just a light doodle, but a full, Gauguin, Picasso, Dali style picture, a whole sense of a potential short squeeze. Tracking fee changes is also worth noting, because you can monitor sudden spikes or drops in borrow fees over time to identify potential turning points in a short squeeze. That's always worth noting. Now, what about other factors? Because we love other factors. We love confluence here in this show. Shout out to our man in the back there, Obi. You don't want to rely solely on fees, because you want to look at the stock's fundamentals, news catalysts. Also, one thing we don't necessarily have on here, but I think is really key to analyze interest specifically for heavily shorted stocks: Twitter, X, social media, $, whatever ticker you're looking for, which is also ironically how you can request your stock. You just go right in the chat right now, !join, $. Yeah, I'm gonna interrupt Justin for that because I started yapping.
Super quick. Yeah, this is a short one.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
So
you guys,
do that
just
in the chat.
vote every day. You have till around 1:50, so about 40 minutes left.
Yeah. So please do that there, if you would like. But also, yeah, thank you, Killer Cam. I appreciate that. The snow trade is going very well. I am pleased as punch. But yeah, you really want to make sure that you're going on Twitter too and seeing what is the sentiment around certain situations at that point. Like, how are traders feeling about this stock? Is there a lot of interest in this stock? That type of thing is important to note. But a word of caution, because we love excitement, we love being in the money, but we also love caution, because you want to make sure you're making trades and decisions that make sense. Borrow fees are dynamic, so they can fluctuate rapidly based on supply and demand. They're also not a guarantee, because high borrow fees do not necessarily guarantee a short squeeze. Other factors can influence stock price, and you always want to focus on risk management, because short squeezes can be very volatile, so you want to have a stop loss order in place to limit potential losses, because those are not fun. Also, some online communities share borrow fee data and analysis, so you want to be cautious and verify information before making any trading decisions based on info you find online. So with that in mind, that is a short squeeze trade. Also, yeah, I want to shout out Killer Cam, because I honestly saw, oh my gosh, this AMD, that's crazy. But I saw this snow trade. I looked at snow because of what you had said there, Killer Cam, so I want to shout you out for mentioning the snow trade. We're going to take some of this out at 40s, I think, and then save a piece for the dream. But yeah, you were saying snow looked kind of, thank you, I appreciate that. But I do want to shout out Killer Cam, because you were saying snow looked weak, and I did like these failed wicks here into 137, which is the basis on which I took the trade. So shout out to you. And shout out to, we have such such a great community here, and I want to shout out everybody. How are you doing, Sharif?
Not too bad, Adara. I want to mention these small cap gappers in a second while I put a big wetter here on Apple. But I did get stopped out, guys, of my position on Meta. It did break that level, so that's going to be the end there. Still positive on it, though, most notably. Now, a whole bunch of VWAP interactions today with some of these small cap gappers. MLGO, what a beautiful hold off the volume weighted average price. Look at that. Okay, Broncos. Okay, I see you, Broncos. Clapping up a storm. Nice rounded bottom. 3 touches all off the volume weighted average price. None of them broke VWAP, and they certainly didn't close below that. So beautiful look there for MLGO getting that bounce off the WAP, and here goes right back into $10 again. MLGO, got to keep eyes on that. The quiet one, though, this one hasn't been making too much noise, but what a pattern. This hasn't even broken the 10 once since 10:15. OLMA, it's not up the biggest, 28% at the top there, $15.36. Every single retracement onto this green line over here, which is the 10 exponential moving average, has been bought up. And it continues to trend. This looks awfully like a buy program if I've ever seen one. OLMA, I gave you the deets on it, but it's probably high time I give it to you again. $839 million market cap with that recent move. 2 2/3 million shares traded on the day with a 53.8 million share float. And the short float on it is 17.57%. So definitely not negligible. Something definitely to be looking at. OLMA, what a look there. The other one, though, that stopped me out today, HOLO. And this one, I tried to take as a technical trade. Oh, sorry, not a technical trade. Price action bounce off that 175. It didn't give it to me. I ended up getting stopped out. It came down to 168. Lo and behold, that hammer candle there, that bottoming tail candle, bounces off the volume weighted average price, and now we start getting that higher low, higher high pattern, looking possibly to come into 183. But HOLO, as Adara astutely pointed out, doesn't have a catalyst of its own. It's likely running in sympathy with WIMI. Speaking of which, this one broke down after the zillion, quadruple, whatever top over here at the $1.25. It definitely couldn't break through that on a closing basis, and it gave up the ghost there at the volume weighted average price, and now we're kind of trending sideways a little bit above $1. So there could be some sort of trade here looking for dip trades off that buck. But look what it's giving you. It's giving you $1.07 at least for now to the high. So that is the current state of the small cap gappers. Great looks on some of them today. Sadly, we didn't trade any of them for the exception of HOLO, and HOLO I ended up being negative on. So that's the way it works there. All right, AAPL right back into the highs. I put a beak wetter at a $0.75 to take out some there. I have two more outs left on Apple. The high there was 74. I'm sitting at 74. I just didn't cross, thinking I was smart that I was going to put it 1 penny below the $0.25. But there is smarter than me, and they outsmarted me there, so I didn't get the fill. Hopefully, this comes right back up to test it again. I'm sitting at 194.74 on AAPL, looking for a possible 195 touch because it's been rejecting off 195 the last couple of days. So we'll see what we get there. All right, let's see what else everybody's talking about in the chat here. Anything of interest? CompuCare team not happy with AMD at the moment. Let's see. He must have enough votes already, says Solo Crystal. Absolutely not. Let me remind you guys. Let me just do the short one, actually. Join, space, exclamation point, join, space, and the ticker of your choice. Get that in now if you want to see a holo review by the Neil or MGOL. You know, he likes these small cap gappers more than the Katina Man. So if you want that analysis, throw that in there. If you want to know what the Katina Man was doing with Tesla and Apple today, throw that in the chat as well every day from 2 to 2:20. Have your say. What do we got here? Big Kyle Burdette. They are talking about something else. Yeah, all right. We're not surprised there, but that ain't the topic of the discussion we have here, Big Kyle. But yeah, you and I can always talk about stuff after. Let's see what else we have going on here. BTC, we talked about BTC being awfully strong earlier. Let's check out the current state of Bitcoin. All right, so we're well above 70. We're now dancing possibly with 71. We're up 2 and change on the day. Mora is up 7%, knocking the door of $21 again. You've got Riot knocking the door of $10. So great day today for Bitcoin or for crypto in general. Coinbase as well, no slouch, 5.5% off highs though, but still a great looking chart, intraday chart for COIN. That $245.75 Adara is the high of the day on Coinbase.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Tesla like it's like got the secrets of the universe in it or something. It doesn't. But no, I got involved in this trade because I liked that. So I know we had this big old green candle. I'm gonna be like, Adara, you shorted this big old green candle. I did. But that's because we still had lower highs and we were at VWAP. And I said, Adara, confluence, why not? Ooh. If you want to try something, try it. This was a really nice area of support earlier. We know support can flip to resistance. The fact that we had that big move up and all we got to was VWAP, I was like, you know what, Adara? You want the smoke. You do want the smoke. I don't know, I'm trying to convince myself I do want the smoke. So we're like flat on this. I think the way that we're chopping and turning, this could very well go against me. I recognize that. If we break into 65s, that's where things are going to be turning here. Right now, a few meager pennies in the money. We're taking out half the position at 30s. We're saving a piece for the dream just above 75s. I'm aware we do have higher lows, so I want to be cognizant of that, but I still feel good about the short. I think the fact that we're having a really hard time pushing higher does give me a little bit of confidence that we could push even lower. AMD at this 30s level, like I said, every level for AMD, more or less, has been a previous level of resistance or support. That 30s was the previous low of day. So like, hey AMD, if you want to reject here, I will gladly, without pausing for a second, I will take you short AMD. Don't even worry about it. All you have to do is ask. Oh, I mean, he won't ask, but, AMD will not ask, but I will get involved anyway. Also, Snowflake, I did get out of this. I didn't like the higher low. I took out 2/3 of the position anyway, so it was like we didn't have very much left. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, eh. Like we got out flat for the rest of it, but I am up on the name because of the 2/3 that we took out here. And I want to shout out Killer Cam one more time for mentioning this one in the chat. Sometimes, and this was great about this community, you see people mentioning things and then you look at it, you find strategies you like, and it's such a great community. And I think it's also worth noting too that what's great about this is you're all going to have your own way of trading, but it's having the community knowledge. It's about having that awareness and being brought together. And I think that's actually something that Roaring Kitty represents really well, right? That's what the whole initial Roaring Kitty move represented was this person who was from the outside who had these ideas that people believed in. So I don't know why I made this like a whole university lecture hall, but I do think that's, right, why not? I think there's something really interesting, and I think it shows the importance of communities like this, so I want to shout everybody out. And yeah, just trying to make sure that I'm sticking to my own plans and my own style as well. So good times. But what's on Tapple for Apple? Is just hanging out?
It is. Well, we didn't get the print of Daryl, if that's what you're asking there. Yeah, no, back down into 62s. I'm waiting at 74s. It came into 74, but it didn't cross, so you don't get to fill unless it crosses, right? But yeah, I gotta tell you here, man, there isn't a whole lot to talk about unless you want to talk about small cappers, because I'm kind of range traded out. I don't know what to say. Yeah, no. I know, right? But anyway, OLMA is the one that I've really got my eye on now. But I'm a little concerned because it was the first time since 10:15 a.m. that it actually broke the 10 period here. Not on a closing basis, mind you, but it did break it. Now, it did drop below 20 pennies, so I'm inclined to kind of get in at 15 and risk 20 pennies here. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So let's go over to OLMA. I'm going to sit at 15s, and I'm going to risk down into 77s. So we're going to punch long. Right now, we're showing 01s. I'll sit at 15. Let's see if I get the print at 15. And then what I'll do is I'll put a 1477 out. And we'll put that, we'll give it about 67. We'll give it 10 pennies worth of room there in case it does, in case the spread opens up and I'm unable to get out. So we got to get filled first. So let's see if we can get the fill at 15.01s. Right now, I'm not getting the fill for whatever reason. This one's up 20 some odd percent, but I am a little concerned with this trade. I don't know if I should. Interesting here. Just now you have a couple of candles of indecision on a closing basis. This is the 5-minute chart too. So is this setting up for a retracement maybe down into the 20? It's a hell of a time to get in, right when it starts breaking the level. So we're not in it yet. We haven't got filled as the spread is, now we're filled. So now we have to put it in the out. So let's go ahead and throw that on there. And I'm going to put my first beak wetter since we got 15. Let's put in we'll put in at 15s. Why not, right? We'll put in at 15s for a beak wetter. It's going to have to hold this level. Otherwise, it breaks 77s, and that's the end of the trade there. OLMA, highly shorted, not highly shorted, but in the mid-teens, mid to upper teens there. HOLO is going as well. HOLO, we mentioned this one off VWAP, and now it's doing the rounded bottom. Curling right back into that 180 area. It's printing 179s. The high of the day is 183. It hasn't given you the biggest move, but it's been a great looking chart. This thing closed at $1.50 yesterday, so it's only up 23 pennies on a $1.50 name. That's still pretty good. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Long OLMA, we're 4 pennies out of the money as it's printing 96s, but I am looking for a hold at the 10-period exponential and another move up. We'll see if we get that. Adair.
Yeah, so I'm out of Tesla, happy with how I managed this. As Neil once said, something that I really stand by is it's all, your losing trade should be boring. And unlike my earlier Tesla trade where I got short and then Tesla immediately jumped up a cool 40 pennies, this was a boring trade. We broke above 65s. I had to say hang 10 to Tesla. I said goodbye. So that's what happened there. AMD, I really like this. This could be an AM disaster, of course, but right now it's just an AM decision. There's nothing, it's a very neutral decision. I have no thoughts on this right now. I wanted this to stay below 45s. I took this for a couple reasons. A, I've been watching AMD all day. I know how it moves. I liked how it was rejecting the 160.30. B, also I say I know how it moves. I don't mean for that to sound so presumptuous. That can always change on me. But it's like sometimes tickers move certain ways throughout the day. And if you've watched one ticker throughout the day, you kind of know what move you're going to get to some extent, right? Unless, of course, a massive whale event happens. Or black swan, that's the actual word. But yeah, so this AMD is, gonna push me out here, so that's all good. I was like, oh, it's so calm, and then it was like, haha, Dara. But yeah, so that's gonna be that on that. If AMD lets me AM depart, there we go, we're out of this. IWM, I'm staying in. I did add to this actually as well at the 202 rejection. IWM and that little 9 EMA hang out below this area. We did just pop above. The area for me, for IWM, as it has been all day, 202.10. 202.10, for whatever reason, there's a weird, the other level for IWM like that is going to be 202.30, but 202.10, this has been nuts, this level. It was rejection. It was support. It was whatever it needed to be at whatever time. I sound like I'm like, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, but like, IWM at that level has just been wild, so I do want to put that out there. And AMD, I get out, and AMD goes all the way back down. So that's a little bit grumpy, but hey, AMD, if you want to switch from support to resist or resistance to support at 160.30, I have no qualms going long there. Mark my words, AMD. Although it looks like it actually did want to give me my short. So that's a little bit frustrating. Sometimes it's hard when it's like the idea is right, but the execution is just a little bit off. But then those are actually sometimes maybe easier trades to fix. Then you go back, you're like, how could I have done that differently? What could I have improved upon? But right now, IWM, I'm really proud of. And I'm also proud, sometimes you can be proud of yourself for just sticking through it. Because you're not having your day, but it's like if you still see stuff you like, you still owe it to yourself to try those trades. That's what we're trying to do, improve a little bit every day. How goes Olma?
I got stopped out, and I got right back in, though, because I'm trying for a 20-period dip. If it breaks any further than the low there, I'm going to get stopped out again. On the good side, though, I did get my profit taker on the break of the $0.75 on Apple. So, yeah, good news and then bad news. So, there we go. It's coming right back down again. Looks like I'm going to get stopped out again on OLMA, and I do. Is it breaking down now aggressively? What a time to get in, man. What kind of bad luck is that? The thing doesn't break the 10 period the entire morning, and then the time I get in, it tanks. Like, come on. But that's the way trading is, baby. You get what you get, and you don't get upset, says Daniil. MLGO, though, is going, baby. Here we go. So this one held 8 beautifully, and right up, it's starting to curl up again. What I want to see, though, is do we get into this 1150 range and have problems like we did last time? Because that's exactly what happened. When we broke it above, we got into 1150, 11 3/4, and it kept doing these topping tails before we held up at the 20 again. So I'm less inclined to want to jump into this one super quick, but I do see what it is doing here with that rounded bottom, and I do like that. I really like the VWAP hold too, the strictness of the VWAP hold. Too bad we weren't involved in that, but we'll continue to see if it maybe provides us with opportunities a little bit later on. Let's flip to some of the large cappers here because we haven't been looking at these in a second. And Apple, good time to take that print on Apple because as I took it, it comes right back down off that 194.80. Let's see if it holds up at the 10 period. The last time it dipped a little bit below the 10 period and got almost into the 20 and then held up again. So Apple kind of trending a little bit, you know, after ranging is essentially all morning. So we'll see what we get with the dead one Apple on the day. Not much else happening in large cap world. Very range bound day. And sometimes you get these days in the markets and you just got to deal with it. What else is going on here? Wow. So it looks like I got weaseled out of OLMA. I might have to figure my way back in if this can start printing some candles to the higher side. 0 for 2 on it so far, though. Both negatory.
Yeah, this IWM I'm really proud of. I have 1/5 left. Took out 2/5 at 201.85s. Took out another fifth. I'm Southern now. At 201.77s. The low of the day is 201.70. If I could get out below there, I'd be so proud. It's a really small position at this point, so it's not about the big gain. I think right now for me today, it's more about the mental. It's more about, you know, you can have good days and then you have a bad day. And it's like, how do you recover from that? How do you deal with that? Today is my worst day in a little bit, but that's the whole point. You're not going to have a perfect day every day. Otherwise, trading wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be rewarding if you didn't struggle. That sounded really masochistic, but I think that's the whole point of trading is sometimes you're going to have bad days. It's like, how do you deal with them? How do you react? The market tries to punch you. The market tries to take your lunch money. How do you get that lunch money back? It's actually ended up being a pretty apt analogy. But anyways, I was just surprised because usually, what is so funny? I don't know.
I guess like your epiphany mid-sentence.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
Mid-sentence epiphany.
Why not? Thank you. But yeah, I always love Ramin's little laughs. Those are her joy is contagious. Shout out to Ramin and Fabian, as always. Also, IWM. The whole point I'm trying to make here is trading is such a mental game, and to me, I'm keeping part of this position in because I do think there is an opportunity here for this to break another low of day. Even if it doesn't, hey, I'll take it out if we stay below 90s. I don't really care. I'm fine with that. But you just have to try new things and be comfortable trying new things. Not all your trades are going to work out, but can you keep your mental intact? Can you not get lost in the sauce? Shout out to Obi. And can you find new opportunities? And that's what this is all about. And I'm going to stop giving my weird Oscar speech now. How are you doing?
Great question by Jay Lee. So he's like, hey, maybe it's actually time to start shorting OLMA now. And I want to answer that by kind of playing off a little bit of my rule with these small cap gappers. So as a breakout trade, I have a general rule that I don't take these on a breakout basis if they're trading below VWAP. I will say that same thing for shorting this on a breakdown basis if it's trading above VWAP. And I had a trade actually that worked quite effectively in the early part of 2023 and the later part of 2022 when the market was awfully weak. These small cap gappers weren't spared either. So what I'd wait for is a nice small cap gapper to make a big move up, and then I'd wait for the failure either of the pre-market high on a closing basis or the breakdown below VWAP, and then I'd look to short it. I feel like that trade has, lessened in its effect or in its effectiveness as of late. I think it really is market dependent. So when the market was very weak in 2022, that somehow kind of filtered over through osmosis into the small cap gap world, even though they don't really march to the beat of the market's drum most of the time. That was an observation I made. So I'm not really inclined, Jay, to want to get short on these names that are awfully strong, especially if they're above VWAP. Now, it's an entirely different story if OLMA gives up the ghost at 14, which is where VWAP is right now. So it's a great question, and thank you for asking it because it helps me, it helps me be honest with myself and, remind myself why. Well, why am I not getting short this? Right?
I like
right?
that.
Yeah. Great question, Jay. Shout out to you. Jay Lee always doing the absolute most in a good way there in the chat. So that is the 0 for 2 look that I had on OLMA. I'm going to see what this one does. It just opened up a new 5-minute candle now, but I got to tell you, the volume is really dropping off here, and which could be causing some of the down moves. So we'll continue to wait. The dead one ain't dead though, baby. Well, not HOD. Local high, we're about 15 pennies off HOD. Everybody knows where that HOD is, and it's at 195. And it's been 195 for a hot minute, at least for the last couple of days. So we'll see. Can Apple close above 195? I'm going to go ahead and say no. Today, I don't think Apple gets above 195 in a closing basis. A quick wick and see ya. That's a different story. So we're not going to take out any more here on Apple because we only have one more out. I'm going to save that for maybe a mid-90s print. In fact, I like it so much, let's go ahead here and sit at 95s for the remaining amount. See if we get that. Probably won't, but it's all good there. Now, one name we haven't talked about at all, I don't know, maybe Adara talked about it, but definitely not me, is the soft one today. This one, as you can see, has been, this is your prototypical range, I would say. On a $400 name, it really can't get any tighter than this. 412 to the south side, essentially 413.5 to the north side, and that has been the range since 10:25 a.m. this morning. So going well on to 3 hours now, Katina, man. Microsoft has been absolutely locked in this range of $1.50. Now, it's at the high end of the range right now. It's printing 413.43. It just printed high a day. But lo and behold, it's finding resistance. Guess where? At yesterday's closing print. That also happens to be pivots. I love Confluence. I love saying Confluence. I like hitting the bang button when I say Confluence, and I like seeing Confluence on the chart. And so this is a great area to short here if you're interested in this range trade. And look what the market's doing. It actually rejected off that top end of the range again. So I'm not really surprised that Softy made it up here. I'm looking to short soft one at this level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if I was looking at that one earlier, so I appreciate you bringing that one up. Also, I'm going short AMD again. Shocker, I know. But this other short, the idea was right. And I'm proud of the risk management. I had the 50s level for a reason. It just went above. Like, I think it's important to recognize when you make mistakes in trades. Of course, a lot of issues is just human error. You set, and I know with IWM, that other IWM trade, the issue was I had way too tight of a stop loss. But sometimes it's just with the market. Oh, I'm gonna stop talking for a second because AMD gave me an excuse to push that chair to the down back here. Okay, AMD, you want to break below that little area of that 160.17? Like, man. I say that now, I'm getting all excited, and we're like basically flattened again now. But AMD wants to break lower, so I'm really proud I had the confidence to take this trade. We can't all have confidence, but you know what we all can't have? Confidence. So shout out to Sean, shout out to being confident, shout out to conviction, not just a Law and Order show, but a way of life, especially with trading. I literally have that written down on my notes to myself. I'm actually going to prove this, so this is real. Conviction is not just a Law and Order show, it's an important aspect of trading. If you believe in yourself and your trades, you're more likely to trade to the best of your abilities. This is not a piece of advice I follow as often as I should, but I have it written down there for myself so I can remember. You do have to have faith in yourself. How's it going?
I was told to read out the following message.
By whom?
Hey, Patty's brother Anthony at Open Door Sales.
What?
Where is the chocolate? Where's the chocolate, bro?
What?
We want the chocolate. Kidding. Shout out to Anthony. That's Big Patty Ice's brother. He told me to say it. He said, hey, Patty's brother Anthony at Open Door Sales, where's the chocolate? That's all I got to say about that. Shout out to BPI, Big Patty Ice. Guys, I want to remind everybody that we have a new segment, guys, where you get to have your say. Get into the chat right now, type in join, and then space and the $ and put the ticker of your choice there. And the Big Kahuna is going to cover that on the afternoon rundown. As I loaded up Microsoft here, Ram, to get that short and talk about it, it just tanked without me. So I'm going to wait to reignite an entry on MSFT. I like this range. It has been a level all day, this level over here at 413 2/3. We rejected off it initially at 1040 and then again here. But we are putting in higher lows. I am cognizant of that, but there was a trade to be had there, at least for a quick scalp. We'll see if it gives way. The market is not breaking out of that range, so I'm less inclined to think that Softy, which has been absolutely dead on the day, is going to have a breakout midday here when the market's doing nothing. So I'm definitely interested in getting short at 413 2/3, 413.5. Right now, it's below the $0.25 level. I'll be putting a short around those levels, a resting order short. So we're going to go 413, and we're going to go 50s. My frugality ain't going to get me in trouble this time. We're going to sit there to see if we can get said short on the NQ. But keep in mind that we are getting into that more liquid time of day now where the market could start picking up. So the range trades that we've had essentially all midday show, you know, it's not a hard and fast rule, but they could end, right? As the more liquid time of day comes up and we're getting into that power hour, you know, the buying volumes or the selling volume starts picking up, we could be breaking out of these ranges. So be cognizant of that if you are trying to focus on the range there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that's a good, that's also, I think, a pretty apt transition because we know that I love my ranges. So thank you for saying that. Honestly, though, AMD's been kind of rangy, but not in the way you expect. When I say rangy with AMD, I mean more it keeps giving you levels that you have the opportunity to play off. Shout out to AMD, 35 penny winner with the remainder of the position. Took out most of it for about 20 pennies there. So please just punch. It's really, like I said, just about sticking to the things you like, sticking to confidence. And again, I am always just so grateful for this community and the opportunity to trade within this community, people giving ideas. Shout out to Killer Cam, who pointed out Snowflake. It's such a great community to be a part of. What are people looking at? Because I want to take a look at some other stocks for other people right now. Rum drops Family Garden mentioning, I think this is actually for the voting for the big screen, but in case we don't get to take, so, oh, okay, Rumble. I'm going to be honest here, I do not love the volume on Rumble. It is under 1 million shares. But we do have lower highs. We have some lower lows. To me, I think Rumble kind of weak, but let's take a look at the daily chart because that could be what you are looking for. Right now, yeah, Rumble, I'm going to be honest, this is not a bad chart. I like that we're sort of trying to hold up here at that $6. I think if we don't hold up at $6, that's when things could get a little bit dicey. Let's zoom in even further. If Rumble breaks below that $6, I would say 550 could be an interesting area. We did have a bit of a top there earlier. But yeah, Rumble has seen better days. That is for sure. Right now, though, bouncing off that $6 area. So this actually could be a nice little area for Rumble. Let's even get a Rumble back to the upside. Speaking of Rumbles, did you know they're postponing the Tyson and Paul fight?
Yeah, because Tyson's sick. Yeah.
Because I didn't know if that was like because I saw that in the news and it said Jake Paul, professional boxer, and I was thinking, since when? I know this man.
Can I tell you, Adara, though? He's not a bad boxer. He's not a bad boxer.
I'm not judging his boxing.
Patty, you don't like him? Patty thinks he's a good boxer. He thinks he's going to do well. Okay. Like, I know that, you know, he gets trolled. Well, it's not how he started. I get it. But, like, he's putting in work. That's a thing. And he's got money to hire the best people to teach him to box. Don't forget about all that. There's money does a lot of stuff in North America. We know that, right?
That's true.
I like that. I want to repeat what the Katina man said. It's like trading. The man's passionate about it, and if he puts in the effort, you know, he might see some results. I don't mean to basically argue with what you're saying.
No.
I completely get it. He was a joke in the beginning. Everyone was like, yo, what is this YouTuber doing fighting professional boxers? But I got to tell you, I love boxing.
Yeah.
And he's not a bad boxer. He's not a boxer, though. But
yeah. No, I think, you know, much like with trading, if you have the passion, I'm going to do kind of a Jake Paul reference to anyone who knows this. If you have that passion, you have to go after it every day, bro. So I think shout out
100%,
shout out to Jake Paul in all seriousness. And I only clown just because thought it was really funny. I've never seen him described as a professional boxer before. That's why I was kind
Yeah,
of
I
shocked on the
respect
news.
that.
But yeah, I mean, Rumble though, to go back to the Rumble chart, I think a $6 bounce could be nice. Also, I want to look at GE for the Piper. I like this GE getting a midday bounce, said the Piper. I totally agree. Higher highs, higher lows. Finding a little bit of a struggle at that 60-40 level, which we had a little bit of talk and turn in the pre. But yeah, I think that's a good look. And I think in all seriousness with regards to the Jake Paul thing, I appreciate you saying that because it is about passion.
Yeah.
But having like, I had no trading experience less than a year ago. And it's like, if you really like something, you have to commit to it and try to make, if you fall, if you get punched, literally in the case of Jake Paul, just get back up. So I do want to shout that out because if you like something, you have to work at it every day, bro.
All right, we shorted a soft one, 3 outs already, but this one, it's not having that parabolic down effect as I anticipated, and the market's inching a little bit higher here, so I don't know how long I'm going to stay in this trade. I don't want it to go against me. We wet our beak for a 20 penny winner, and it's coming right back into my area again. Now break even on this name. Hard to tell if I'm seeing higher highs and higher lows here, but I'm inclined to end this trade. It is not a breakout trade. It is a range trade off a key area of technical resistance on the day. Essentially, it's that 413.50-ish area thereabouts. Technically, the high is 413 2/3, and here it comes right now. So if we break above that 2/3, that's the end of my trade on this one, and we'll get out of Dodge. Already de-risked somewhat. I'm holding less than half the position here on MSFT. But yeah, it's definitely making its way up. So this one should be a scalp, it looks like here. We'll see if we get stopped out on MSFT. So the stop's already in place. Everything is ready to go. It's just about what happens next. Apple, we were able to take some out at 75s. It made its way up to 85s. Didn't make up its way into 95s. That's where I'm waiting for the last Apple out there, 194.95. The reason is I want to see if it's going to make that test into 195 like it has the past couple of days. It's 2 for 2 now with Apple, touching 195 on Friday, touching 195 again today, but we'll see what we get on the day. All right, back to the softy trade. Very close to getting stopped out for the remaining 43% of the trade. Out of the money right now on this trade, about 20 pennies because it is in the 50s. I'm going to be looking for a rejection here. I think a new high at daybreak ends it here for me, Adair.
Yeah, I am. Hopefully it does not end it for you. That'd be nice if you got to continue that short. Shout out to you. Tesla, like if you just want to bounce in the range and let me get involved in the range, I love that. Yeah, Tesla, I think I might have missed this range here. I think the base was 25s. At this point, I'd probably be a little bit chasing. And you don't want to go chasing waterfalls, right? So
That's it.
let's not do that. AMD, though, this short continues to be underway. Really proud of what I did the last time this short came through. So I'm going to take this again with more shares if we stay below 30s. I do not see us breaking any higher. You know what? We're going to start building this position. We're going to get involved 17s. And then we're going to add at 25s, and if we break above 40s, that's what we're getting out. These are levels that I've seen on the book in the chart. That's what 17 is actually where it got out for part of the short. So these levels are based on. I have no idea if I'll get involved. It looks like we're trying to crack below 6-10-10s on a decisive basis, so that's fine by me. But you have to have, you want to balance that frugality and also those levels that you like. The Tesla, though, I think there's something on Tesla. I don't know what it is, though, which is why I'm not forcing it. AMD does not want me doing that AM dance with it, so that's okay. Yes. It showed it to Big Sean, which this Sean was just singing, accidental pun intended. Hello, Big Sean, how's it going? Yeah, good times. How are the trades going?
Going fine.
They're going fine, says Sean.
I don't have a mic.
He does not have a mic.
I'm going for a walk.
He's going for a walk.
I'll see everybody in 20.
He'll see everybody in 20 with this emoji. So emoji, hand signal. Thank you, Sean, for saying hi there. Shout out to Sean Katina, who was actually singing Big Sean back there as well. Yeah, so I still want my AMD short. I don't know if I'm going to get it, but that's what's happening there. Tesla, I think I definitely missed this. I think the range is on the short side, so that's fine. Meta, what are you up to? Meta is chopping and churning, but not in a fun way. Like I like what Sharif said, because he's like, there's been ranges in all these Mag 7 stocks. I think there have been, but they've not been ranges that are like ridiculously fun to play. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of these ranges have been very inconsistent, very ridiculous, very hard to play. I heard someone making a sound of disbelief and disgust, so I'm very sorry to hear that.
It's all good.
But I think, I don't know. I'm sorry. But yeah. We're gonna have to wait and see what we do here. AND, if you wanna let me in the short, man, just let me know. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here.
Yep.
Meta, I think there is a range, but I don't know how to play it. And I was just saying, I agree. I think there have been ranges on all these mega caps, but not ones that have been super easy to get in.
No, a little bit tougher. Like, look at that Meta one, case in point.
so
It's like
messy.
such an outlying event and then goes right back into the same range that it was in.
Yeah.
Good call. All right, let's update the look here on the small cap gappers, because there was quite a few running this morning, Ram. The first one here is MLGO. This one had a great double bottom off that $8 area, which also happened to be the volume weighted average price. It's having trouble with 10.5 for whatever reason. Topping tail candle through 10.5 into 11, and then a newer low. Watch out. This one could be putting in a rounded top. I hate that topping tail candle on these small cap gappers. It's, I don't want to say it's an ominous sign, but it's definitely not good. So keep your eye here on MLGO. Could be persuaded to reload on this bad boy for a scalp at 8, which is VWAP again. I probably wouldn't hold this, you know, in the hopes that it tests 15 again, but it would be a scalp trade at 8, MLGO. The other one here, OLMA, I'm 0 for 2 on this one. I tried to take it initially off the 10, didn't work. Took it off the 20, didn't work. Now it's at the WAP. 1430 right now, trying to print 1440. It's spready, and the volume is dying off. But you can see here, someone unloaded a bunch right at this candle here at 135. Look at that outsized volume candle. 1.25 million shares done on that 1 5-minute candle at 135. Look at it. It dwarfs the open. There's like nothing compared to this candle here, so something could be afoot. Somebody selling off. OLMA still up 22 1/3%. The other one that I was looking at was HOLO. This one kind of double top-ish here at this $1.82, $1.83. Watch out for the neckline break. This is where I'd be interested, Jay, if you're listening. Jay Lee, shout out to Jay Lee, was asking me why I didn't short, or whether it would be time to short OLMA. And I gave the whole speech about not wanting to short these small cap gappers on a breakdown trade north of VWAP. But here's a good look. So Jay, if this double top holds up, what I'd be looking for is a decided break and a low close below that VWAP level at, like, say 167, 169, 168, something like that. That would confirm the double top, and it would be a reversal pattern, which would be perfect because the trend that preceded the reversal pattern was an uptrend, obviously. So it'd, like, you know, that would cross a lot of T's and dot a lot of I's there. So that's what I'd be looking for on HOLO if it was to give way at VWAP, looking for a short there. WIMI, we kind of had to stop talking about because it broke down through VWAP. Now it's become like a hold the $1 trade, as it's trying to do right now, WIMI. Bottoming tail candles, all defending $1. You can tell somebody's buying this up above the dollar trade rate. I don't know, umpteen amount of bottoming tail candles here, or above $1. VSTE was the other small cap gapper that we brought to midday. This one really started going at around, let's say 11:45 or so. It made a new high day on our show, 729. It broke the IB high there, but you can see what it did after that. Lower highs, lower lows, trying to find support off the 50 on the 5, but we'll have to wait and see. It's not tradable for me as a breakout small cap gapper. That is until it breaks above that 550 level, which is where VWAP is hanging out. Guys, this is your 2-minute warning. You have 2 more minutes to vote for the names that you want discussed on the market, or the afternoon market rundown, I should say. Go into the chat right now, type in the following, because I was super quick. You're gonna type in join, join, then space, and the ticker. And I'm gonna show you guys 1 second over here, if I can come to my screen, Ram. Right there. There it is. Make sure there's a space there, guys. Otherwise, Streamlabs won't pick up on the entry, and your vote will not be cast.
Also, Street's mustache is not a ticker. which I'm going to say.
Brendo, are we getting like, is that the #1 ticker? It's number 3, guys. Come on. Come on. My stash is not a
It was in
ticker.
the top 5.
Brendo wants to rename the segment Stash Hour. I don't know what to say.
Stash sessions.
I love it, guys. All right, get your say in now or forever hold your peace. You have 1 more minute to vote, then Streamlab cuts you off, Adara, so they got to do it. They got to do it soon.
And unfortunately, we cannot chart Shreve's mustache. So make sure you're not voting for the stash. Although we do love it in good fun. In all seriousness, in order to make the segment happen, we do need like tickers that are not something that is on Sharif's face. Because guys, don't worry. Every time Sharif's on the screen, you're gonna see the mustache. Okay, the mustache will be there. It does not I promise, it doesn't leave.
Doesn't go anywhere.
Segments. Yeah, it's glued to his face. It's not glued, it's growing. But that's not the point. The point is, you will see the stash attached to Sharif on the green screen. Fear ye not. So
look what Tony wrote, Adara. The stash is a tickler, not a ticker. Yes, Tony.
I like that.
I love it.
I do love those puns.
Somebody's printing over there, so you want to tell us about it?
Yeah, kind of printing.
Kind of printing. I see a whole bunch of purple arrows above the aqua arrows. So that usually means a print.
Thank you. We'll see if we stay below these 40s here. I'm going to stay in this AMD. But AMD did kind of make a higher low. I really wanted 160s. I had my my beak wetter set for 160.05. AMD was like, I don't care. I'll get to 160.06. I was like, don't love that, AMD. Come on now. Yeah, we had a whole conversation back and forth here while we were talking about Shrew's mustache. No, I'm joking. But all jokes aside, I'm trying to stay confident in this AMD. You really can't trade P&L. You have to trade for progress and learning. That is the whole thing. Maybe that's a cliche, but you know what? Cliches come from something.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think that is why you really want to make sure you're learning and you're focusing on that. That being said, I'm so proud of this trade on Tesla. I'm so proud of this sell on Tesla. I could have taken the other side of this range and taken it off the short, but it's like I was too focused on babysitting AMD, which is back in the money more or less right now, so that's nice. But yeah, this Tesla, I like this VWAP projection, or I like that pop-up VWAP. I said, Adara, you're not gonna get more than 30 pennies. I took half out 15 pennies, rest out 30 pennies. That was the plan, scalping. I got really in my head earlier today because I think, and I do, like I said, I appreciate all the support in the chat because I think some people were saying like, oh, try holding for longer. Risk management is really tight. There were some scenarios where that got me down, but it's like also you have to focus on what works for you. And so I think I got very in my own head through no one's fault but my own. And you have to get out of your head because the trades aren't made in your head. They're made with your hands on the markets. Yeah, I'm going to stand by that.
Yep.
So that's what I said, and I'm sticking with it. And I do want to shout out this incredible community. I'm so happy to have, Neil, Sean, Brendan, Obi, Sharif, of course, here, everyone in the back. Great times. Don't know why I'm always. I want to be hyped up here because I feel very lucky to be here and have the opportunity to make these trades and learn every day. And you also have the opportunity to check out earnings at the market recap. We've got a big one.
Perfect.
After close.
It is. It is a big one, Adara.
It is.
CrowdStrike, widely viewed as the leader in the cybersecurity world. There could be an argument there between reasonable people, whether it's CrowdStrike or Palo Alto Networks, Pandub, obviously. Keep your eye on CrowdStrike. Very important. Cybersecurity is a big name, or it's a big sector, excuse me. So keep your eye out on that. Make sure to check out the market recap show with that girl to my left over here and the Katina Man as well. Hewlett Packard will be announcing earnings as well after the close today. Good look there. Then tomorrow morning we get Dollar Tree and we get Campbell's. I'll be all ears about Dollar Tree because on this side of the border, the dollar stores are doing very well. And that's not by accident. It's because the consumer is squeezed. So we'll have to see exactly how these bad boys continue to perform, at least south of the border there, as it relates to Costco, Amazon, Walmart. These are all competitors, obviously, for these dollar store names. So I'll be all ears today and tomorrow with respect to earnings. Make sure you are following that with the Katina Man and Adara on the Market Recap Show. All right, a few minutes left here on the show. I'll give you my final analysis, I guess, on some of these names. Let's bring in the Mag 7 and have a look at what's doing what. Meta is still stuck in that range. Unbelievable. You know, you had an outlying event over here. Maybe that's foreshadowing something. Maybe these higher lows on Meta are also foreshadowing something. Microsoft certainly is, because it was stuck in a range all day. But lo and behold, this one making a plethora of higher lows. Starting from the IB low, every successive low has been higher than its predecessor, MSFT, accumulating into yesterday's closing print at 413.5. The dead one, we already made the point about Apple and that 195 resistance level going back to Friday, and again yesterday, and again today. We touched 195 again today on Apple at the IB high, and we sold off. Tesla, as you can see there, it looks like a sound audio wave, you know, with diminishing waves, crests and troughs getting tighter and tighter. Thanks, Brendo. You can see this looks like awfully like a compression pattern with the lower lows, the higher lows and the lower highs, excuse me, I'll get that right. TSLA looking awfully like a pennant, and then goggles just printed low of day right now as we speak, 171.89. It was a 172 break on goggles. It hasn't been that low since the IB low at 935 today. So goggles has been selling off all day. It definitely had multiple topping tail candles through the closing print of yesterday. That's 173 and a fifth, give or take. All of those wicking candles sold off, and now we're making actually a downtrend with lower highs and lower lows on this last little bit. And then last but certainly not least, the monster, NVDA, definitely locked within its own form of a range, if you want to call it that, with that 1140 to the bottom, and for the most part, 1155 to the high side. Those levels didn't come in all the time. It was typically a tighter range than that. NVDA, like most of these Mag 7 names, bit of a range today. And that's not a bad thing, Adira.
Oh, no. It's not a bad thing at all. I wish the ranges would be a little bit easier to spot because they were a little bit more all over the place. But yeah, I think AMD certainly gave you some ranges and some levels. We're coming into one of those now, that being that 160.30. If we keep projecting, I have no qualms about staying in this trade. I actually added to this position. This is one of the largest positions I've taken since going live because I'm really confident in this trade. Now, what I don't love, and I mentioned this, we're getting slightly higher lows, but we're only really getting those on, like, because I'm watching the book like a hawk. Like someone who's maybe a bit too obsessed. Like we went from like 160.03, 160.05, 160.08, 160.10. Those are maybe levels that only I care about in terms of higher lows. If you look at it in the chart basis, we have had basically a flat bottom with lower highs. We also have had continued rejections, especially in a wick basis, of that 160.40. Plus, I do not stay in trades after the How to Trade show. When the How to Trade show has to go, I also have to go. I was trying to find a way to rhyme it. But also, you know what we should call this segment is I mustache about a ticker.
Whoa,
because everyone loves the mustaches
whoa.
so much. And is everyone voting about?
I love the Katina man. He comes in, he hears like a word or two, and he starts.
Did you hear what Ramin had to say?
What did
must watch with Mr. Mustache.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Ramin.
I love all these things. I was just telling my old man and my mom's yesterday. I was like, you should see the type of trolling and the creativity of the trolling in the chat about my mustache. I love it. I love it. If I didn't love it, I wouldn't have kept it. I wouldn't be smiling about it. I want to talk about quickly here for Bala and Ambi. He wants me to look, or they want me to look at Marvell real quick. I got to get up real soon to get to the green screen. But look, Marvell's been a sell-off here, it looks like, since the 30th, and it's been making lower lows and lower highs. This is the 1 hour look. I'd say look for support. It's kind of hard to tell you where to look for support here. Let's look to the daily super quick, see if there's a better level. Yeah, the 200 here features. The 200 exponential featured quite nicely on that last little trough. I'd say be looking for support between 65 to about 62.5. If you get support in and around there, it could be an interesting buy, but you know, not Marvell, not one that I really keep my eye on all that much. Adira, 2 minutes left on the show. I will send it off to you. And we'll see everybody in a couple of minutes at the green screen.
Yeah, have a great time there with the must watch with Mr. Mustache. Shout out to Ramin, because Ramin's business there with those puns. I appreciate that. But yeah, shout out to our whole team there, and shout out to everybody in the chat as well. AMD, I'm really proud of what I did with this. Slightly out of the money for the bulk of this, not the bulk, sorry, the remainder of this position. I did take out most of it earlier, but I think this is the type of scalping I need to do more often. Taking these scalps, levels I love, size that makes sense, and just trying to trade accordingly. I'm gonna get out of this here just because I wanna be able to focus on looking at some tickers for some other people as we head into the rest of the day here. But I'm really proud of what I did with this name. AMD and IWM basically tied for the bigger trades of the day, but you've gotta learn, you've gotta grow, and you've gotta try. Zai wants to look at Mara as we head into the end of the day. Of course, let's take a look at, 21 trying to do something for Mara. We got above 21 earlier. We got to 21.30. Then we had that wick continue to the downside, rejecting off 90 MA. I gotta say, Mara, I always find it to be a bit of a trickier chart to read. I find it really is beholden to Bitcoin for the most part. So I want to be aware of that. The biggest level I like on a technical standpoint, going to be the 2040. I talked about this earlier. That flat top breakout at 2040 was great, but then it also gave you a retest of 2040. So I like 2040. This is going to be our biggest level on Mara right now. Nike, I forgot to look at this earlier. Lots of victory there in Nike, which Gaurav was mentioning earlier. I think Kyle was mentioning earlier. Nike, what a reversal. Nike putting the V in reversal here. Let's see if it can push higher above that 95. That's a great look here. You know what else is a great look, though? What we have at that green screen. Hope you guys had a great show here. Hope you guys had lots of fun. We'll see you tomorrow. Same bad time, same... Wait, never mind. We'll see you tomorrow, but not quite the second. We're going to marvel at Nike a little bit more here. I love that 90 for 90 rejection. AMD keeps rejecting 160.30. I will repeat, that's one of my levels of the day. But you know what else are levels? Looking at these stocks we have to look at. Not the best transition, but what's always the best is our green screen segment, guys. See ya.
Welcome to the segment where you choose what we talk about every day between 2 to 2:20. We'll talk about the tickers that you voted for.